President Trump just confirming what he calls a good conversation with Russia's President Putin, posting that they spoke for more than an hour on multiple issues, including Ukraine. But he says it was not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace, noting recent attacks on both sides. And he says the Russian leader told him he will respond to the recent Ukrainian attack on Russian airfields. Ukraine's President Zelensky telling reporters earlier he does not think Putin wants any kind of peace, and that Russia's recent ceasefire proposal was an ultimatum. President Trump says he and Putin also discussed Iran, and that Putin suggested he might take part in U.S. nuclear talks with Iran. The Colorado governor sends a message days after the fiery attack on people calling for the release of Hamas hostages.
Hate, anti-Semitism, terrorism, and violence have no place in Colorado and no place in the United States of America.
Governor Jared Polis says Coloradans are united and won't let hate define them. The Boulder attack suspect, an Egyptian national who overstayed a visa, remains jailed, facing state and federal charges. His family facing expedited removal from the U.S. The FBI just announcing the number of injured in Sunday's attack has risen to 15 people and one dog. An arrest made in the bombing at a California fertility clinic.
FBI officials have arrested 32-year-old Daniel Park in connection with last month's explosion at the American Reproductive Center's fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California. Park was arrested at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York City on Tuesday evening. Investigators believe Guy Bartkus was responsible for the May 17th car bombing and is believed to have died in the blast.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Federal prosecutors now say Park, the man arrested, is accused of supplying the chemicals used in the bombing, which also killed one other person and injured several. America is listening to Fox News.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Expect some unsettled skies over the next couple of days with a front hanging around, some scattered showers, maybe a thunderstorm as we go through the afternoon. But I want to stress nothing severe. 70s to near 80. Couple of showers, couple of non-severe thunderstorms tonight, 67. Same story on Thursday, 83. Little better chance of some strong, possibly severe weather on Friday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
There's something special about the Dittamore Group, and I want to connect you with them. You're looking to list your home, and you're not 100% sure where's the best place to go. It's the Dittamore Group, and I can tell you, as the #1 team and the #1 office in the Metro East, their reputation speaks for themselves. First and foremost, they're great people, but they know how to get the job done. Probably because they've got 50-plus years of experience at the Dittamore Group. You can call them directly at 618-531-4652. That's 618-531-4652. They work in Illinois and they work in Missouri, and they have an extensive knowledge of each market that they are working in, and they are going to work their tail off for you. So if you want honesty, integrity, and top-notch sales, you want the Dittamore Group. If you're looking to list your home or if you're looking to buy your home, reach out to Tammy, Zach, Pat, Abby, and Trisha at the Dittamore Group at 618-531-4652. 618-531-4652. TheDittamoregroup.com.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design, because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
Insurance companies often have a basic strategy.
delay, deny, defend. Some try to grind you down, but they have another tremendous weapon, a software called Colossus. They know which attorneys are great and which are not so great. They know who is likely to take the last offer and who will take them by their scalp, kicking and screaming to trial. They know that they have to pay some firms early and fairly. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. The insurance companies have done their homework. Before you hire a lawyer for your injury case, do yours. Visit forthepeople.com and see our settlements and verdicts for cases like yours. We became the largest injury firm in the world for a reason. When you hire the wrong firm, you may be beat before you start. All law firms are not the same. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh yeah, this is the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. One last show with you, and then, Brad, do you know who's going to be filling in the rest of the week?
Yeah, Wiggins is back tomorrow, so it'll be me and Wiggins
Awesome.
tomorrow. And
you'll use that same intro.
Yep. And, yeah, Annie's back, I think, Wednesday next week. So
Great. Well, it's always a complete honor when I'm asked to fill in on the Annie Fry Show. I always thoroughly enjoy it because it's so fun to work with you, Brad. It really is. And I like to hear Ethan complain about Wiggins. That's fun, too.
Man, he's great at it, too. Watching those two go back and forth is just
so good.
Amazing.
All right. Well, yesterday we tried to social engineer a poll question for the YouTube page. It didn't work. We were close, but it didn't work. I wanted to see if we could put up a question where one answer gets 100% of the response. Didn't happen. I think we got 96% to 4% or something like that. So close. So we're not going to do that again. I don't know if it's even possible. What's the question on the YouTube poll today, Brad?
Well, the question is, do you believe in any conspiracy theories? Are you a conspiracy theorist? And we just have two options for you, yes or no. And rather than ask you to say why you voted yes or no, what we want you to do is jump in the chat and leave your favorite conspiracy theory in the chat. And if you have a good one, we'll read it on the air.
Sounds good. You'll start starring those, and we'll watch you later. Sounds like it's going to be a fun end of the show today. I can't wait to see those. All right. A couple of things we want to get to. In fact, we do have a guest that's going to be coming up. Eben Brown, Fox News Radio national correspondent, joining us. And I think we're going to talk some AI with him. And what we're seeing with it is the power consumption necessary in order to use the computers and the servers and everything else involved with it. Kind of an interesting look at it. So looking forward to having a conversation with Eben Brown. I saw this one story out of The Guardian. U.S. immigration officials push for increased detentions, including collateral arrests. And I wanted to read this very first opening line. Senior U.S. immigration officials over the weekend instructed rank and file officers to, quote, turn the creative knob up to 11 when it comes to enforcement, including by interviewing and potentially arresting people that are collaterals, according to the internal agency emails visited or viewed rather by The Guardian. So meaning that when it comes to some of these different arrests, some of them are going to be really easy, meaning judge had an order, person disobeyed the order, still stays in the country illegally. Now they're talking collaterals, meaning that if you go and investigate one of these people that are clear and obviously need to be removed from the country, if there's someone associated with them that also is eligible to be deported, then they're out of here too. So we're just going to take care of it now as opposed to waiting for it to stick around long. What do you think about the U.S. immigration officers in their more aggressive approach when it comes to immigration enforcement? Because if you go back just Biden administration, it was super relaxed. Obama administration was more not as relaxed as the Biden, but there was still deportations, people that were turned away.
I mean, in the Biden administration, they actually referred to the Biden administration as not Biden, Obama administration. They called him the deporter in chief.
Yeah, because he did do a lot of that.
Yeah, he did a lot of it. I think this is a good thing. My understanding is what they're doing is they're looking at people. They go on these raids and they have a list of people that they're going after. We want person A, person B, and person C. But as they go on these raids, if they come across somebody that is also an illegal immigrant, an illegal alien, then they will get that person as well and send them on their way. So, yeah, more people out here. It was really bad under Joe Biden. Well, how many million do they estimate?
Well, I'll tell you the quote-unquote numbers and what the realistic number is. Do you see numbers between 10 and 20 million? The number might actually be double than that. I don't think we know the full repercussion of what happened during that time. It could be 30 or 40 million people that came during President Biden, and that's not so great. You know, is there some comparison we can look at? You know how Donald Trump, I kind of think he's maybe 10% serious and 90% not when it comes to having Canada become the 51st state. I don't know how serious he is with that. I want to say 10-40, a 10 being maybe he's leaving the door open, 90% not as serious. Am I wrong with that assumption? But my point with this being is with the Biden administration and the amount of people that were flooding the southern border from Mexico with literally no one's trying to stop them. We're just allowing it to happen. Essentially, Mexico looked at us the way we look at Canada, meaning Mexico's like, hey, we're already one of this basically our 51st state. That's the way Mexico looked at the United States for the longest time. They essentially said, if there's nothing stopping me, this might as well be Mexico to me because I'm just going to freely walk in and use it that way. But going back to that, what do you think the seriousness is when it comes to the Canada thing?
Oh, I don't think it's very serious at all. It doesn't make much sense to do it. But I don't know. What did you say? I think it's like maybe 5% serious, and everything else is just, you know.
I did 1090.
Yeah, I think that he's. I think he likes, irritating the Canadians. I think it's fun to him to poke the Canadian bear a little bit and get them riled up. But I don't think he's serious about that. And also, some of the stuff that he brings up for them, talking about like it would be better for them economically and stuff like that. Yes, the United States economic policies would be way better for Canada than Canadian economic policies. I do think that there's some truth in what he says, but I don't see it as anything serious.
Yeah. I look at some of this too. It says, if you go down this article from The Guardian regarding this, it involves handcuffs on wrist. It's probably worth pursuing. Officials were urged to increase apprehensions and think of tactics to push the envelope, one email said. The staff encouraged to come up with new ways of increasing arrests and suggesting them to superiors. So they're saying, wait, think out the box. What's the best way to apprehend people in this country legally? Now, this is written in a way, I think that the person that wrote this was like taken back by this. Like they were appalled by the idea of enforcing immigration law to this extent. They thought basically immigration law was, we're just going to sit on the side of the banks of the river and we'll just cast a fishing net in there and then we'll just see what we catch up. But the Trump administration is like, we're going to go out there, we're basically going out, we're going through the whole river and we're going to find anything in there that shouldn't be. He's going a much broader approach to it, which doesn't surprise me. And is it necessarily a bad thing if you are here in the country illegally and you've broken our immigration laws and sometimes have been ordered, sometimes are going to be ordered, sometimes they don't even know you're here because the judge, if you came in and you're just undocumented and they have no idea that you're in this country illegally, is it really a bad thing that immigration laws are enforced if you are caught accidentally? I don't think so.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's the game you play whenever you come to the country illegally. Am I going to get away? We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Like, would it be worth it to be a fugitive? And essentially, that's what you are. I know people say, "Oh, illegal immigration, they're not criminals." They are. They broke laws. They are a criminal. And if you get caught, you go back. And so I think that the idea that we would wrap people up in collateral deportations and raids is good. I think the word collateral is what gives people angst.
Yeah. What if, okay, let's say this. Let's say they are conducting a raid, and let's say they bust into a house during a raid, and they're looking for a specific person that overstayed, or a judge told them to leave. And while they're in there, they find other illegal things, drugs, guns, things that shouldn't be. I don't think there should be anyone feeling bad if the person that's collecting other illegal things are also arrested or charged for the other things police officers find during these apprehensions. So this is essentially in the same vein. I mean, you don't want these immigration officers or police, whoever's in conducting these things, to just ignore all laws that are being broken if you're looking for one person, but happen to find a bunch of other laws that are being broken, especially ones that could lead to other death and destruction when we're talking drugs and guns. What about what's going on? There's a couple of stories in Michigan, and let me just bring this up. What is up with all of the terrorist stuff going on in Michigan right now? So this happened yesterday. 2 Chinese nationals charged with smuggling in a potential fungus that would destroy crops. And the interesting thing is, some of the links here at the University of Michigan have been caught multiple times now with Chinese nationals, people on visas studying or whatever it is, breaking the law in some very serious ways. We had another update, and I'll read this one here in a second, but the other update is we had someone from the University of Michigan illegally registered to vote, illegally cast a vote during this last election. This became, kind of show just how relaxed our laws are when it comes to the election. And they were also charged for fleeing the country before they can get any repercussion. And then last year, too, we had people, students from the University of Michigan. When I say students, I say quote unquote, because that might not have been their primary function for being in the United States, that they're out there spying on military bases, but they're saying they're here on a student visa. This seems to be happening a lot. And in this most recent one, where they flew in this fungus that is known to kill billions of dollars worth of crops worldwide every year, is coming into a place where the crops and the farmers are pretty much, they're already devastated by some of these disasters that come through here, let alone you release this fungus that can destroy the entire food source for so many different people. What's going on with this? And so many of them have ties to the Chinese party. They're getting connections to it because, like this one example with the fungus that was coming in, they said it was funded by the Chinese party and coming in here and directing them what to do when they get in here for this sort of quote unquote research. But this is like bioterrorism, and this is happening over and over again. And I live here, and it's always from China, it seems like, and it's University of Michigan stuff, which I think plays into why there's so much attention going on to American universities right now that are bringing in people that have ties to the Chinese Communist Party that may be doing things like this in other places.
Yeah, we should not be surprised by this. We shouldn't be. China's goal is to supplant the United States as the world superpower. They believe that it is their divine right to be in charge of everything. And so whenever they look at the United States, they see a formidable adversary, and they're setting up, and they would be foolish not to do this, and I'm sure we're doing stuff like this also. You'd be foolish not to be setting up ways that you could undermine that country should things go to a shooting war. One of the biggest things you could do to the United States is destroy their food supply. We also talked about, and the AG of Missouri has been talking about this as well, as Chinese land near Chinese farmland or land purchased by the Chinese Communist Party near military bases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is all a threat. And then you see what happened with the drone attack in Ukraine or in Russia, how Ukraine got drones there. If the Chinese have farmland that they own just outside of military installations, where on earth could you launch a drone attack from? Right there. Yeah. So, China wants to supplant the United States, and they want to set up a system so that they could take the United States out before a war really gets going, because they don't want to fight a fair fight, and neither would I. I wouldn't want to fight a fair fight against China. So this is the actions and behaviors of an enemy nation, an adversarial nation that wants to supplant us.
I don't know if I'm trying to think back, and I don't recall. Maybe you've heard something about this. So when it came to the gain of function research that was going on in Wuhan and this coronavirus and the origination of it and all the lies that were told at the very start of it to try to deflect it. But we understand that the United States was funding this stuff. Like Fauci was signing off and was very actively engaged in understanding of what was going on, which led to this virus. Did China ever blame the United States for starting this? Like saying, hey, it was the United States and Fauci's research which started this global pandemic. Did China ever blame us for that?
They
I can't
absolutely
remember.
blamed us for it.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah. And everybody looked at him like, well, you're crazy because we know what you're doing here. You're trying to get the blame off of you, and so you're just going to blame us. But I remember that. There were accusations that it came from a biolab in North Carolina or something like that. There were some wild accusations coming from China.
Well, I know that China. Well, I was saying that the sense of Wuhan, if it wasn't for the United States, who knows if they would have been researching this with the funding of Fauci. But that's some pretty serious stuff there that Fauci has never really received enough criticism for outside of Rand Paul, who has brought this sort of thing up. But here's the other thing, and this happened during the last election, and this just came out yesterday from the Attorney General office in Michigan. So Chinese national at the University of Michigan charged with illegally voting in the 2024 election. So you remember when this came out. So part of it was what we find now is that this University of Michigan student used his student ID to register to vote. Now, tell me that shouldn't raise a couple of red flags, because that's not a proper form of identification that should be accepted in order to vote inside of elections, especially federal elections, because it doesn't prove you're a citizen of the United States eligible to vote. But they allowed it happening anyway. And by the way, there's a big group of people that are trying to change the laws so this stuff doesn't happen again. And of course, predictably, the Democrats are saying this is such a rare occurrence. There's no need to try to strengthen our voting laws. They're strong enough as it is. Now, keep in mind, the only reason they caught this person is because they voluntarily said, oops, I did it. I don't know if it's a big oopsie or not. So the person that was charged for voting when they were not allowed to vote was told, okay, you have to give us your visa, or your passport rather. We don't want you fleeing the country because we're going to charge you for this. And he said, fine. He handed it over. Well, the day before the inauguration, he flew to Shanghai because they gave him a phony passport anyway. So he's gone. And now who knows what'll happen. I don't think the United States is going to involve themselves with all the resources to get this person back. But it goes to show you this is another connection to a Michigan university, or a university here in the United States of America, Chinese Communist Party, doing something illegally. And I know it's not as serious as bringing in this fungus that could kill our crops, but it's still a pretty serious offense.
Yeah.
And it shows that our laws are not up to date if you have a system that allows for something like this to happen and it goes unnoticed and counted. The person's vote counted.
Well, it's not just that. It's that, you know, you have the laws. You were telling me yesterday that you know, there are voter ID laws. You got to show your ID to vote. It's people not enforcing the laws that are already on the books. That's a big deal too. You know, how did somebody look at this and say, it's a student ID, we'll let him go?
Yep. Well, I know we don't have a lot of time. Eben Brown's going to join us after the break. Is that right?
Yes.
We might have to play some clips later, but I'm Ryan Recker filling in for the Annie Fry Show, and I look forward to being with you here today one more time. If you want to reach the show, you know how to do it on the YouTube poll. Go and vote right now. I look forward to hearing some of your conspiracies there. Ooh, this will be fun. 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
I want to speak to the men out there right now about infinite vitality. Infinite-vitality.com. I don't want you to think that when you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, when you get to that middle age, that this is just how life is. You are missing the opportunity to truly live life while you still have, you know, a lot of time ahead of you. You have a lot to offer. You still have a lot of responsibility. You want to meet the mark every day, and Infinite Vitality can get you your infinite vitality. Don't wrestle with difficulty losing weight, loss of muscle mass. You're killing it in the gym, but it's not showing up on your body, on the scale, in your muscle mass. Infinite Vitality can help help you get your mojo back. They can help you get the sex drive back that you might feel has been subsiding a little bit. They can help you not feel fatigued all the time. And if you're struggling with the dad bod, everybody, dad bods are fine. But if you're not happy with it, if you want to be healthier, Infinite Vitality can help you. Mention Annie and get a $50 credit towards hormone replacement therapy and weight loss services. 618-486-1888. 618-486-1888. Infinite-Vitality.com.
I always said for years to save my number in your phone so you don't forget. And here's why. Today, I was calling the office. So I mentioned the office number. Probably have said it, not to exaggerate, over 1,000 times. I called the office today and I dialed the wrong number. When it connected, it said number not in order, not in use, whatever they say that. Now, I am freaking out. I'm a very small business owner, and that's my lifeline. Very long story to try to make it shorter, and if Andrew can do this, I'm producing it. That's why I say save the number in your phone. Save it under BART, that's with a B. You can save it under air conditioning, that's with an A. Or whatever helps you remember, because if your memory is like mine, it's easy to forget. 314-293-2600. It's BART with a B.
Do you ever wonder if you've saved enough money to retire? Well, you can find out how you can make your money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You will learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing your Social Security income, paying for health care, all of it. And there's no cost. Just bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Now, there are a handful of openings for the classes this month and next. Just register by calling 314-947-2012, 314-947-2012. It's the Sue Thomas number, 314-947-2012.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at gslhonorflight.org. And for HVAC services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
All the small things, true care, truth brings. I'll take one little.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. And I know a lot of people are wooed and wowed by the things that artificial intelligence can do. I think every news network right now is showing their anchors as babies. That seems to be the major trend. But how does that happen? It takes a lot of computing power. And when you have a lot of computing power, you need a lot of energy. And joining us now is Fox News Radio national correspondent Eben Brown. Thanks for joining us here in St. Louis.
Good to be with you.
So this is an interesting story because I know that a lot of these companies talk about just the amount of power is necessary in order to generate even little prompts that people use on their phone. But there's some pretty strong computers behind every AI thing that's going out there. And I know that Facebook is a pretty progressive company. Why not just power this with solar and wind like they would suggest everyone else does?
Well, I think we've all learned at this point that solar and wind just doesn't cut it. And that's certainly a big part of this. And they are making a very real and very hard look at what the future is going to look like. Their future, whether it's Meta or some of these other companies that are steeped into AI, Microsoft and OpenAI and even the X company under Elon Musk, they need to have a specific source of power to run these data centers. You're not going to be able to really do that with solar or wind. But one thing you could do it with that is affordable and cheap to operate and safe and plentiful is something that we've been ignoring in this country for quite a long time, decades really, and that is nuclear. It's very interesting that nuclear is now getting a new look by some of these companies who often are associated with a lot of left-wing causes, especially having to do with the environment and whatnot. But here they are thinking of their business first and realizing that they do need to make sure that they will have access to power and that the U.S. doesn't necessarily make enough power to power everything, including these data centers. So anyhow, Meta has formed an agreement with Constellation Energy of Illinois to pay for the operation of one of its nuclear reactors in its facility in the city of Clinton, Illinois, for the better part of 20 years. And in exchange for that, they will get energy credits so that they can, probably in the form of like a tax break somewhere, so they can pay for the amount of power they're going to pull off the grid, and at the same time have another generating station actually operating to make the power that they would need. So that this is certainly, I think, a win-win for everyone. Constellation gets to keep a generating station going that they were going to be or a reactor that they were going to be shutting down. Keeping it operational means jobs. It means more power to the grid. And for Meta, the Facebook company, it means ensuring that they will likely have the power they need to do what they want to do while they ready the next step, and that is to really build their own power plants with next-generation nuclear technology where you can build smaller footprint reactors and generators on the nuclear technology that they can operate themselves, or share with a smaller community.
And I know that even as governments look back at the mistakes they made giving up on nuclear, and I want to use the word propaganda, some of the fears and the scares did not outweigh the benefits and the clean nature of it. I know there's waste involved with nuclear, but all things considered, given all of our power sources, cheap and safe and effective and clean too. But just not further. Oh yeah, and further north they have the Palisades plant in Michigan that they're reopening after they shut it down. And I think governments, and this is keep in mind, Democratic governments that are looking at this and coming around to it. It's not just like conservatives. These are Democrats. These are bipartisan. They understand the value of the nuclear.
Well, there is a lot of value for it, and you get a lot out of it more than you put into it. We do need to build newer reactors. We haven't built a new reactor in this country in a very, very long time. So the ones we have operating are operating, but they are ancient. We could be more efficient with an energy system that is efficient to begin with. Think about it. We have nuclear reactors aboard submarines, the power of the submarine. So we know how to build small reactors enough to power a submarine or an aircraft carrier. That's not a small boat. So we have the ability to do that. Why couldn't we do that on land? It might not be able to power a mega metropolis, but maybe it could power a large corporate campus with a data center or a small community with a data center. Think about the energy independence that comes from that. And yes, there were always concerns of safety. And I think if you are of a certain age, you might remember 3 Mile Island. But I think in our collective silly imagination, we've somehow equated 3 Mile Island with Chernobyl, and that's just not fair. That two very, very different things. It's not, 3 Mile Island wasn't even like a Fukushima scenario. So we have a very good safety record in this country, and we know what happened with 3 Mile Island and how to avoid that in the future. So I think, and as you mentioned, the waste is very containable. It's not, spewing carbon into the air. The waste is something that's very solid for the most part. So, there's a real renewed look at nuclear, and it probably will gain a lot of momentum in the coming years. Especially because, as we began this conversation, wind and solar just didn't pan out. You're not going to power major things with solar. I'm in Florida, where we are perhaps maybe the only state that could power your average home with solar, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Well, part of too, and I'm a fan of Back to the Future.
If you can afford it, because building your own system at home is expensive. You have to maintain it. And if it gets damaged, that's on you. So solar isn't really all that affordable for a lot of people.
Well, I was going to mention with Back to the Future, I'm holding out hope for the Mr. Fusion that I can put on my car that gives me where I can throw banana peels.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be able to use that for energy. I think, and Eben Brown joining us, Fox News Radio. So this really does show, I think, a commitment to artificial intelligence in the long run. They understand there's this computing power. Like if you go back maybe 5 years, it was individuals moving to towns that had cheap energy so they can mine for Bitcoin because they thought that was going to be the future. And now, that drew so much energy. You don't see these major companies trying to up their power consumption to mine for cryptocurrency. They're all using it for the artificial intelligence side because they realize the demand is going to be there and they got to get onto it now.
AI can be used to mine for crypto. You see, AI is the new brain power, and this is very sci-fi, and yes, it can be scary considering that most of the movies that we've seen have not ended well for humans. But we are in a phase where we are discovering exactly what AI can do for us, and it can do a lot. It can simplify a lot of tasks. Now, yes, for the average person, okay, you're using it to make funny pictures to post on social media. That's not really what AI is going to be doing for us in the long term. Yes, it can help you organize your email and maybe even your business. But what about when it can start simplifying computation so that let's say pharmaceutical engineers can develop better medicines more quickly because some of the legwork is being done by trusted AI. Yes, it's verified by humans, but a lot of that work that could take years is somehow reduced to a week. That's groundbreaking. But we need the computing power for that, and that takes up a lot of resources and, of course, energy. And so that's where we're at.
And if you're going to time travel, you're going to need that energy too. And well, how about this with like the artificial intelligence and the AI? You're right. It's people posting videos online of them as a baby. And I see all the different networks and television shows that are taking advantage of this sort of thing. But we were talking about this before the show, even the Annie Fry show here. And producer Brad will take the video that we run on YouTube, and he has an AI website he goes to, and they'll do all the video edits for you. They'll zoom in on your face to make it look like you're a multi-camera when you weren't. And all of these things are done. And this doesn't necessarily take the job of someone else, but it gives him the opportunity to do something there is no one to do. And it makes it even better, and it improves the value of the show online. And I think there's smart.
I'll give you a great example. Once I had to record a press conference for radio, and the weather was bad. It was raining, and there was a buzz on my recording. And for those of us who work in radio know that that's you can't use that recording. It sounds like awful. It sounds junk.
Yeah.
I was able to put it through an AI filter that could do what I could do in real time, bit by bit. But a 12-second soundbite, millisecond by millisecond, would have taken me probably a year to complete, to clean it up, which would defeat the purpose of news. It did it in about 30 seconds. It ran it through a millisecond by millisecond through an equalizer, making sure that it was eliminating out the bad sound and keeping the good sound, and it produced something that was very crystal clear. That allowed me to focus on something else or use something I thought was unusable for my work. So that's a way that AI has been able to be helpful in my small microcosm here. But again, apply this to medicine, apply this to advanced, theoretical physics. I mean, now all of a sudden you're getting somewhere.
Yeah, or people can post videos of Donald Trump saying that he's going to resurrect velociraptors so immigration enforcement could use them at the border. Did you see that video and some things that people are doing that look so realistic that you can't tell the difference?
You have to have some fun. Come on. Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. I don't know if you saw that one, but people are doing some really creative
things. One, but I've seen so many of them. Just in the past couple of months alone. What people are doing, and it's hysterical. But again, it's doing the work a human video editor or animator, even using digital tools, would have taken probably a year. There was I saw I forget where it was. I just saw it about a half an hour ago. But there's an article from a movie producer saying that with AI, they can take the footage that was filmed on a set and create alternate camera angles, just like you were talking about. They can edit let's say, action scenes to make them less dramatic or gruesome, and they can take an R-rated film down to a PG version, in just a couple seconds and have two versions of the same film.
Well,
think about it.
Well, if you think about the applications for reality and how that can change people's perceptions, are you scared as a veteran in the news world that one day you might be fallen prey to some of that and get the wrong impression?
I have to keep my eyes and my ears out for it. I don't I don't retweet something that looks like a controversial video or something like that, because I just don't know if it's real, unless we've had a way to verify it somehow. I'm just not going to, I don't repost them or anything like that, because, we just don't know unless we have some kind of verification if it was in fact true, or a true representation of what was, happening at the time. So, right. It's very easy to fool people now, and there are bad actors that have been doing that with lesser technology already. So this technology kind of gives them an even better, evil tool for that matter, and we have to be vigilant.
All right, so if people want to look you up online because you are keeping a close eye on what's real and what's not, where can they go?
Well, I'm on X at foxebenbrown.com, FOXEBENBROWN.
And we enjoy your reports and all the work that you do. Eben Brown, Fox News Radio national correspondent. Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
Brad, I don't know if you could send Eben Brown the Velociraptor video. It's so funny.
I can tag him in I can tag him in it.
All right. I look at that and I say, that is so realistic that if I were watching that with the sound off, I wouldn't be able to tell if I was just looking at it on a phone, when you have a small video and a lot of people consume their media on a phone, you don't sometimes catch the nuances of what AI, the artifacts and things that would be left over. I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. And even listening to it, it had to be headphone for me to hear some of the wobbly nature of the generated Trump voice. If it wasn't for that, this would have looked, dead on realistic in that sense.
I think back to the Will Smith spaghetti video. Do you remember that? There was a video that came out in 2022. Well, that AI, they've constantly been working on it since 2022, and they re-released it, and you can't tell that it's not real.
I know.
It's
Why
amazing.
Will Smith, though?
Why
did they choose Will Smith?
I don't know.
All right. Good old Eben Brown. I'm so glad we had him on, and he's very good at what he does. Coming up after the break, did you see the story about the intruder at Mar-a-Lago and what he wanted?
No, this is new to me. This is new to me.
Let me put it this way. There's some crazy things that happen in the world. I don't think this guy was necessarily in his right mind. So let's talk about the guy that scaled and jumped into Mar-a-Lago. What did he want? We'll talk about that. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
At Barry Door and Window, we welcome you to a higher standard of customization and quality. And when I walked through their factory, their showroom, and everything, it is so obvious why people have been choosing Barry Door and Window for the very best in doors, windows, and garage doors for decades here in St. Louis. 56 years plus that Barry Door and Window has been answering the call for people who want the best, the quality, and a great customer experience to boot. When you work with Barry Door and Window, by calling 314-423-DOOR, that's 314-423-DOOR, you are going to be able to get customization like nowhere else. You're going to get a top quality product, high quality wood or vinyl windows that never compromise your dreams, and they have a strong 5-year window labor warranty. That matters for installation, of course. You want to make sure that you have somebody who you can trust to sell you a quality door and to install it as well. That's Barry Door and Window, 314-423-DOOR. 314-423-DOOR, barrydoorandwindow.com.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSuperCenterofStLouis.com. That's GeneratorSuperCenterofStLouis.com.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. They'll haul away your old garage door and give you instant credit towards a new insulated door. $200 for the first garage door and $100 for each additional door. Cash in your old entry door too. It's Cash for Clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Convenient, free, in-home estimates. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Gain peace of mind that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's Flooring Outlet. They give all their clients attentive personal service, even bring toys for the kids of the household. It's a family-owned and operated business for 25-plus years. They make sure you make the right choice for your home. So if you have carpets or hard floors, you're going to be happy for years to come. 3 convenient locations in St. Charles County, 116 Main Street, in Old Town St. Peters at Mid-Rivers and Highway 70, in West County on Olive, and the store in Darden Prairie. Michael's Flooring Outlet, IGotFloor.com.
Today's YouTube live chat poll, are you a conspiracy theorist? Yes or no? We want to hear what your favorite conspiracy theories are, so leave them in the chat. We might star them and read them on later on in the show. And I also want to give a special shout out to Jaylee, Henry, and Caitlin. Guys, thanks for joining the chat. They're new listeners. The time right now is 12:45. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Scott Jennings.
It is not good for America to have foreign students here who do not love America. If we're bringing people here who hate America and want to take advantage of our system and tear down America and tear down the West, that's stupid.
Weekdays from 3 to 6. This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
And I ain't got nothing to say. I come home in the morning. I go to bed feeling the same way. I ain't nothing but tired.
Wait, so did Mark Reardon pick the music for this afternoon, or was it Ethan picking the music?
Still
that
Ethan.
sounds like a Mark Reardon song. If I know Mark Reardon,
Well,
he's a
Ethan
big
helps
fan.
produce Reardon's show, and so I'm sure some of that stuff will make it over. That is actually a new song to the Annie Fry Show today.
Oh, okay. Well, nice. Well, there's a story, and a lot of people are reporting it. I just happened to go to the TMZ version of it. A Texas man was arrested after breaching the wall at Donald Trump's Florida resort, telling police he was there to marry the president's granddaughter. So he said
man.
his 23-year-old Anthony Reyes was taken into custody shortly after midnight on Tuesday by Secret Service agents who claim he triggered perimeter alarms at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. He told police he climbed the wall to spread the gospel to the president and marry, is it Kai? Is that how you say the granddaughter's
Kai,
name?
yeah.
Referring to the president's 18-year-old granddaughter, who's the daughter of Donald Trump Jr. He was booked to jail, $50,000 bond set, multiple conditions, including no contact with the Trump family, including Kai. Reyes already has pled not guilty. So he just wanted to marry the president's granddaughter.
That's
a strange thing.
That is incredibly, I don't know. Kai has been doing a really good job of making, social media posts and stuff like that. She's really walking in her grandfather's legacy and kind of carrying on that showmanship thing. But man, whenever you do that, you've got to be careful for the crazies, because the crazies are always out there.
Yeah, especially when you're a female. It seems that brings out even more crazies. So are you telling me you don't love your wife as much to climb the walls at Mar-a-Lago and get arrested for from Secret Service? Do you love your wife to do that much, go that far?
What I'm telling you is I don't think that would help me win my wife's heart.
Probably wouldn't.
Neither
further away.
Well, who was it? The guy, Jodie Foster and Ronald Reagan, the guy that assassinated or attempted.
Hinckley, yeah.
Yeah, he did that because he was trying to get Jodie Foster's attention. It's just wild to me.
I know. And, what do they call him? It's Hinckley, but he was allowed to get out of jail. He's been living free doing country music the last couple of years. crazy talk that you can attempt to assassinate the president of the United States, actually get him. I mean, you shoot him with a bullet. And when it came to the Brady that was there too, he ended up dying from those injuries decades later, but still, you can be released from prison and rehabilitated after all of that. Are you kidding me? I can't believe they let him out.
Yeah, it's it's wild.
So this person, Anthony Reyes, I'm telling you, if you're listening right now and you think this grand gesture stuff's a good idea, I'm telling you it is not. Anyone that may be listening or trying to impress a female, I'm telling you, this does not work. I would think, too, that there's probably a high probability that this suspect never met Kai Trump. So this would have been like the first impression.
Yes.
Running there.
It's one of those things where it's like all you know about them is what they do on social media and stuff like that. And you feel like you know them and they have no idea who you are.
And he probably watched the Mario movie when it came out, and he thought he was Mario and she was Princess. Remember that scene when he Mario makes it to the Magic Kingdom or whatever, the Mushroom Kingdom, and he's like running through there, and I got to see the princess, and he's like, all these people are trying to chase him down. I'm guessing it looked very similar to that.
Yeah.
That would have been the AI filter version of what actually happened that day. If they were to film it and make it into something
insane.
else, right? The other thing, did you see the Colorado terror suspect? There's more details on what happened there. So the New York Post put this out. Colorado terror suspect Mohammed Solomon accidentally set himself on fire to start an attack, the new video shows. So I think that's why he didn't have a shirt on, because he accidentally set his shirt on fire.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, that makes sense. You know what, though? It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I saw the video on Fox News earlier, right before the show went on the air, and whatever he did, he lit himself like it was a fireball. He was on fire from his waist up. And I was like, oh, that's a shame.
You ever seen those people, and it's like drunk frat boys that say, I'm going to get a flaming shot or whatever, and they light their Everclear, whatever the stuff that's going to poison their body is. They light it on fire, and they think they're just going to take the shot, and the fire will go away when it's in its mouth. But what they ultimately do is spill the alcohol all across their mouth. So their whole mouth is on fire, and they get like third-degree burns on their face, probably for the rest of their life because of that stupid decision they made while drinking that garbage. So when I saw the photos of him with his shirt off, it didn't look like he had too many burns on him. He probably got but how disorienting is that? Like, you're just like minding your own business. You're doing this walk against terrorists and Hamas, and you look over and there's a dude on fire, and you're like, whoa, what's going on there? I hope he's okay. And next thing you know, the dude on fire is throwing fire at other people and trying to kill people. And now 15 injured and plus a dog.
Are they at 15 now?
That's what Fox News said at the top of the hour there. So that number is now higher. Man. We got a couple minutes here. There's a few clips I wanted to revise, some things that I wanted to do at the top of the hour, but we didn't get a chance to. And in going back to look at immigration, U.S. immigration officials push to increase detentions, including collateral arrests. And keep in mind, this person overstayed their visa. So I'm guessing they probably would have been on a list too if ICE would have got to them first. Maybe these 15 people that were hurt because of this maniac firebombing people would have been out of the country before that happened. But I wanted to play a clip for you. And this was, where was that? Clip number... I'm sorry, I think it's 6. Yeah. Hakeem Jeffries threatens to dox ICE officials. So you have people out there, the ICE officials that are out there actively looking for people that have deportation orders or maybe here illegally. And this is what Hakeem Jeffries wants to do. This clip 6.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is America. This is not the Soviet Union. We're not behind the Iron Curtain. This is not the 1930s. And every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified.
Oh boy. What do you think he means by that?
Well, I think I don't understand what he's doing or what he thinks he's doing. I know that he thinks he's getting a political win out of this, but the reason these ICE officers are wearing masks is to protect themselves and their families from the crazy people out there, which we have seen. There is a problem with violence on the left. We have seen that. It is very clear. They're protecting their identities from those people so that their family doesn't get attacked, because there are people on the left that find what the ICE officials are doing as reprehensible. And Hakeem Jeffries going out there and saying, hey, we're going to reveal who these people are to you. They're not doing this. The ICE agents aren't doing this out of maliciousness or anything like that. They're doing this out of their safety because of the environment that the politicians have created for them. And then Hakeem Jeffries goes out there in front of all the media and says, we're going to reveal who they are. This isn't 1939 Germany. Man, stop. You're making things worse. He's throwing gasoline on the fire. It's terrible.
He is certifiably insane if he thinks that if you start doxing these people, nothing's going to happen to them. I mean, that is inciting violence against these individuals, the way that he's trying to set this up. Let me put it this way. Remember when people were keying Teslas and vandalizing cars? And that was randomly because they hated the person that manufactured the vehicle, because they hated Elon Musk. What do you think is going to happen if the individuals that are part of the ICE enforcement, if their identities are put out in a way that a leader is telling them that the repercussions are needed for enforcing immigration law? What do you think are going to happen to them and their families? So I'm gonna say this, and I'm not advocating for this, but I'm just saying this. What do you think would happen to me if I were to go out into a protest where there's a lot of angry people on the right, and I held up a sign and said, Hakeem Jeffries, here's his home address where his family lives. And I tried to aggravate the crowd to say, everybody, look, this is someone you don't like. Here's his home address. It's right over here. I'll give you instructions where to go. What do you think would happen to me? That's essentially what he's doing.
Yeah, you would be on the front page of every liberal news outlet about how right-wingers are calling for violence. They would be talking about Nancy Pelosi's husband and all this other stuff. And they would be talking about the dangers that you present. You would be investigated by the FBI. You'd be investigated by the CIA. You'd be investigated by any agency that could. Capitol Police, I don't know if their jurisdiction would extend to that. But yeah, you would be in charge, or you would be in trouble of all that.
Yeah, and that's what he's advocating. That's what and that type of rhetoric is what he's advocating for. So let's be real clear. What he's saying there is not good. And keep in mind, when you look at these 80-20 issues, this is the 20 that Jeffries really wants to stand on that hill with. And I'm telling you, this is dangerous stuff. I'm Ryan Recker filling in, and we got a couple more hours. Go vote in our YouTube poll if you haven't done that already. I would like to know about some of these conspiracy things. It's a very interesting poll question. And you could be absurd and funny. I don't care. If you think peanut butter and jelly are alien food, go ahead and tell me. 97.1 FM Talk.
You're going to the grocery store. Why wouldn't you want to save money? I certainly do. Ruler Foods, you can go online to rulerfoods.com, has savings on the groceries that you love. Red and white seedless grapes right now, $1.69 a pound. Save on that lean ground beef, Kroger lean ground beef. Wonderful item to stock up on at Ruler Foods. Just $3.33 a pound in a 3-pound roll. Sweet 2-pound packs of strawberries, $3.49 each. And do not miss their mix or match hot deals, 2 for $5. Choose from Kroger 24-pack water, Kroger frozen potatoes, 19 to 32 ounces, or 12-count Kroger coffee pods. Save at Ruler Foods, where you can shop smart and spend less. When you shop at Ruler Foods, you're going to save on the items you put in your grocery cart. They have the name brands you love, but those Kroger brands at Ruler Foods prices help you multiply the savings for you, and it gets you coming back again and again. If you haven't found your Ruler Foods yet, you can schedule delivery online, or you can put your zip code in at rulerfoods.com.
What's your favorite 4-letter word? Chances are you've said it more than a few times dealing with this crazy world we live in. But at Compass Retirement Solutions, our 4-letter word of choice is hope. Hope for a better tomorrow, and hope that your retirement plans don't take a back seat. You've watched inflation soar, and maybe your retirement future feels a little uncertain right now. But all hope is not lost. Find out exactly how much risk you're still taking with your investments. Find out how you may be able to save big on taxes. And find out how having a written retirement plan just might give you the hope you've been looking for. Call today to set up a meeting. 314-373-1598. That's 314-373-1598. Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services but does not provide tax advice. Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory firm in Missouri and Illinois. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com. If you're looking for the best eye care in St. Louis, look no further than the doctors of Ophthalmology Associates. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andrew Royer. Make your appointment today at youridoc.com or call 314-966-5000. Ophthalmology Associates.
Want to retire in 5 years or less? You can do it, just like Lifestyles Unlimited member Lisa.
So we started passively. It was on vacation is when we realized we really need to take the plunge and be more active in this. Just because I'm an educator, I wanted to really know what I was doing. So it was just education on my part is really big. And I'm like, well, I could do that.
Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join for just $297, a 60% savings. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
They had a lot to talk about. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. A call between Presidents Trump and Putin days after Ukrainian strikes on Russian bombers.
An hour and 15-minute-long phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin was a good conversation, President Trump says, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. The president says he and Putin spoke about the Ukrainian drone attack on Russian aircraft. President Trump says Putin said he would very strongly respond to that attack on airfields. The president also says Putin suggested Russia participate in nuclear talks with Iran and could be helpful.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Ukraine's president says he wants direct talks with Putin, but a ceasefire first, and doesn't think the Russian leader wants peace. New numbers on the big, beautiful bill from the Congressional Budget Office, estimating it will add more than $2 trillion to the deficit over 10 years.
Republicans are bashing the estimates. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise says the CBO fails to factor the economic benefits of renewing the 2017 GOP tax cuts.
Economic growth has been their Achilles heel.
The CBO estimates the number of people without health insurance would increase by 10.9 million. 1.4 million of that would be people without verified citizenship.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz on the Hill. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
There's a cold, harsh reality that this bill is just tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy, paid for by gutting health care.
Republicans say cuts are waste and fraud, with some pushing for more cuts over debt concerns. The House-passed version of the bill would raise the debt limit. President Trump just posting that he and Senator Elizabeth Warren finally agree on something after the Massachusetts Democrat recently called for eliminating the debt ceiling. Republican Senator Rand Paul opposes the current proposal to raise the debt limit and wants it removed from the larger bill on the Trump agenda. America is listening to Fox News.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Expect some unsettled skies over the next couple of days with a front hanging around, some scattered showers, maybe a thunderstorm as we go through the afternoon. But I want to stress nothing severe. 70s to near 80. Couple of showers, couple of non-severe thunderstorms tonight, 67. Same story on Thursday, 83. Little better chance of some strong, possibly severe weather on Friday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
If it's time to put the deck on your home of your dreams and you want to make sure you do it where you're going to get, good quality and good value for your money, Call Artistic Decks, 314-280-0821. That's 314-280-0821. You can learn about Artistic Decks on their website at artisticdecks.net. Book now and get your deck built before the summer fully sets in. With a small down payment, you get on the schedule. Reach out to Artistic Decks and learn about the different type of customizable, innovative ways that you can implement the deck of your dreams on the back of your home. Think about sipping sweet tea and listening to the birds of the air or watching the ladybugs at night from the comfort of your back deck. This new living space that you've added to your home where you haven't sacrificed quality or value for the experience. 314-280-0821. 314-280-0821. Call Artistic Decks online at artisticdecks.net.
Get this, 42% of baby boomers don't even know how much money they have in their nest egg. If you're not sure where you stand in terms of getting ready for retirement, you should be listening to the All Financial Hour with Steve All.
Let's sit down and talk about your questions, because I think that's the most important thing that it is out there. It's what questions do you have?
Tune in to the All Financial Hour with Steve All, Saturday mornings at 6, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
As the old saying goes, size matters.
At Morgan & Morgan, we have over 1,000 lawyers and nearly 6,000 people on staff.
But at the core, this is and always has been a family business.
Our family watching out for your family.
Call us or email us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on a Saturday or a Sunday.
And if you ever have a problem, call our mom.
Morgan & Morgan.
For the people and your family.
Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Every success you've had began with a great opportunity. Now there's another one. Last aid year, University of Maryland Global Campus awarded over $21 million in scholarships to qualified students, including community college students, service members, veterans, and working adults. Now is the time to move your career forward with an online and accredited skills-based education. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh, yeah, this is the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in. Got a couple more hours together, and man, do I enjoy this time we get together. And Brad, you do such a fantastic job. I want to thank you for making it so easy. You deserve that recognition.
Well, thank you for that.
So on the YouTube page, the polling, how's it going? That kind of rhymed a little.
Well, let me see.
It's almost like a rap song. The polling, how's it going? We used to have someone call into my late night show named Jerome. He'd make raps for us on the fly. And I would say I'm not as good as Jerome. Maybe I can get him to do another one sometime.
We got 122 votes on it right now, so we're doing pretty good as far as that goes. I can't really see what the breakdown is just yet, but 124 now votes in the YouTube live chat poll.
And what's the question?
The question today is, are you a conspiracy theorist? Yes or no? Very simple. Now, I know Ryan mentioned earlier you want to hear people's wildest, most crazy, outlandish conspiracy theories. You don't have to subscribe to them, or you can, but we would just like to hear your conspiracy theories.
I want to hear some fun ones, too. I almost want to make up some conspiracy theories on the fly. Like, what is there a good Ryan Wiggins conspiracy theory we can start?
Ryan Wiggins is actually 6'7".
And how does he hide it? He just basically has a bad spine.
It's all camera angles. It's all camera angles.
All right. If you want to start that one, go ahead and go to the YouTube page and do that now. All right. Elon Musk, not happy with the big, beautiful bill. I don't think this is the reason why he was breaking away from Doge. I think that would just come to a natural end. But nonetheless, Elon Musk drops the bomb on the big, beautiful bill. That's what a lot of people are saying. They're using that wording. Let's listen to one of the clips from that. So this is clip number 2.
So, I was like disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, like, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
It's a good way to put it. It could be big or it can be beautiful. It can't be both. I kind of agree with him on that. And I know there's a lot of Republicans that feel the same way, Rand Paul being one of them. And I look at guys like Rand Paul in moments like this and say, what do you do? And I know that Rand Paul is like this. And I know Donald Trump pointed that out. He basically said he complains a lot, but he doesn't put a lot of solutions up. That's basically what Donald Trump said about Rand Paul, which is a fair assumption too. But Rand Paul's not wrong. And this is upsetting a lot of people right now, including someone that specifically sidestepped his other obligations, which he's got a lot. And he wanted to help the country and fix some of these financial obligations we have that we really shouldn't. And he did, I think, for the most part, a very admirable job accomplishing something that I think went even beyond some people's expectations. But here we are saying that the only thing that we need to do is essentially take some of these cuts and then spend by X-fold above that in hopes that the cuts keep coming. So you think Elon Musk is wrong, Brad? Do you think there's anything that he said there that the bill could be big or it could be beautiful, but it can't be both?
I don't necessarily agree with him in this situation. I agree with the premise that he wants more cuts. I am 100% on board with that. As I'm looking at what's going on with the big, beautiful bill and congressional rules and stuff like that, the big, beautiful bill was a reconciliation bill, and somehow or another, the congressional rules do not allow them to cut already appropriated spending in this rescission or in this bill. So they couldn't put they couldn't codify, like legally could not codify Doge cuts in this bill. However, they can do it through a rescissions process, and that actually has the exact same threshold in the Senate as majority plus one.
Right. Well, that's good. I mean, they can get some of these things done, but let's say you put a bill together. Do you have to really add on extra on top of that in hopes that the rescission process will make up for the other things that you had on the other side? And that's where the trust factor comes in. And I just don't trust that they're going to be fiscally responsible enough to make the most of these cuts in order to offset some of these other things that are being added.
But the problem with it is there are people that are all for cuts for other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not for cuts on their own people's stuff. And so whenever they get into this, they're like, we should cut. We should definitely do cutting. So they're not lying. We should cut. We definitely believe we should cut. But don't cut my pet projects.
Right.
That'll hurt me in my home district. And so then what you end up with is this sort of spending bill, because what you have are people that are more afraid of, not winning re-election than they are of actually doing what's right for the country. The problem also is on the other side of that is if somebody loses, it usually flips the seat to the other party, and you know which party is not worried about cutting government spending.
Yeah, it's exactly.
They're actually huge fans of it. The tax and spend. I see it in the chat. I see it on Twitter. I see it on X. I see it everywhere. They're like, why can't we just tax billionaires more? Well, A, there's not enough money for it. B, there's just because they have more money doesn't mean they should be taxed at a higher rate. That's not moral. An equal flat tax is what would be moral. That's what is the line? Fair share?
Yeah, but I think what a lot of those people are advocating is that not only it's not so much the taxing side, but they want to be able to recoup some of their wealth by taking their assets away. Because a lot of these billionaires, their money, their worth is tied into the thing they created, the company, whatever it may be. If you're Elon Musk, you got a lot of stock in Tesla and these other operations. If you're Bezos and Amazon, you got a lot of Amazon stock. And keep in mind, when their wealth is calculated, it's taken into consideration their ownership stake inside of these very valuable properties properties. Now, the people that are talking about these things, they say, oh, tax the billionaires, tax the billionaires. What they're advocating is that you go in and say, you're not allowed to own that much wealth, meaning your ownership into that company. We need to take some of that away from you in terms of we want to take your property away from you, your stake, your ownership into your own company. That's what they're advocating for in order to try to make up for some of this, which is absolutely scary. And it doesn't surprise me that these billionaires like Bezos move to places like Florida where they can save some of that income when they start withdrawing some of the money that is theirs to begin with.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The fundamental disagreement on this whole billionaires thing is people look at billionaires and say, well, they have so much that they certainly didn't get that in any legal fashion. Therefore, we should take it from them because what they did was unfair. And I look at it and go, these guys are just really good at what they did. I mean, Bezos started Amazon in his garage with his wife.
Yeah.
And he's grown it into what it is.
Help me with this Medicare, Medicaid stuff that's going on in some of these ways. All right, so this is what you're seeing, the big pushes right now when it comes to the bill, is that there's going to be all these cuts in Medicare. And, going back to what Remy song on Reason TV is, people are going to die. Like, that's essentially what all these governors, many different Democrats right now are just going through the same thing over and over again. Let me make sure I'm getting this correctly, because I might be looking at this wrong. You have pre-pandemic money, meaning the way the states would cover these programs inside the state. Pandemic hit, you had a big influx of federal money going to the states in order to try to fight COVID and some of these other things. This is money that was generally pumped into these programs because they thought it was necessary through this national emergency. States continued getting this money well after the COVID was over, and now they became so reliant on this federal money that they spent the money that they would have been putting into these programs other places. And now when the federal government says, we're going to go back to you covering what the state has always covered in the past, now they're saying, well, you're going to take away from us something that was given to us on a temporary basis. Thus, you're the reason why people are going to die if it's not funded. Is that essentially what's going on here?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's looking at it like just exactly what you said.
So the way that they're wrapping this up, and again, they're doing the if you just want people to die mentality, and the way that they're trying to phrase this. But I think what this goes into is you're realizing the big budgets that a lot of these states have in the past 4 years, 5 years. If you look at state budgets, in almost every state's like this, all the influx of the federal money allowed the states to spend money in different ways, and their budgets just exploded because they had this money to spend, and we're going to put it on all these projects that we've always wanted. But on top of that, they're going to put it into all this pork that they didn't actually need to begin with. So all of a sudden, it's time to say, okay, this temporary money is going to go. You're going to have to go back to the way it was, or you're going to have to find different ways to fund it. And they're blaming Donald Trump because of it. And this is very irresponsible, number one. But number two, they were irresponsible in their spending from the get-go, the way that they were throwing this money around, because they were basically told use it or lose it. So they were just using it, anything they can possibly use it on that they can try to justify was COVID related. And now they've spent like drunken sailors. They don't want to go back to trying to be somewhat responsible. They want the federal government to keep pumping money into the coffers so they can keep spending irresponsibly.
Yeah.
Is that what's happening? Am I looking at this incorrectly? Maybe people in the comments could tell me I'm wrong here, but this is, to me, it's like I can kind of see through this. Maybe I'm just not seeing it straight, but I'm seeing through what their argument is right now on the Democrat side.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the reconciliations. Not the reconciliation. What's it called?
Rescissions.
Rescissions, yes. One of the first big ones, asking Congress to pull $9 billion in funding for NPR, PBS, and let's play some of that. I think that is clip number, is it 2? Let me double check here real quick. Yeah, the clip number 1, rather. And this is them discussing what's in this bill.
Good morning, Bill. It's a spending reduction request. DOGE fell well short of its goal of $1 trillion in cuts, but now the administration will send lawmakers a request to cancel spending already approved. Congress must greenlight the cuts for them to become official. Money for PBS, NPR, and USAID are in the crosshairs. Due to budget rules, Republicans could not stuff deep spending cuts into the big, beautiful bill.
Get it going.
Yeah.
Should have started this. Why is it taking you so long? If you would have done this a month ago, we would have seen some progress, and maybe it would have been a little bit easier to swallow some of the big, beautiful bill, because that means they're serious about cutting.
I like the idea of these rescissions packages, though. What was this one? $9-point-something billion, and it was,
right.
9.4, I think, is what the headline I'm seeing says. But I think these are wins. I think when you look at this and you say we're going to cut and we're going to cut and we're going to vote exactly on what we're cutting, then people, what you can't look at this and say is, oh, they're cutting Medicaid. Oh, they're cutting this. Oh, they're cutting that. We're cutting these things. This is the bill. The bills will be short. And then it's a simple majority. I think this is a big win for Congress if they can get these going.
Yeah, it would be a win. In fact, it would have been a bigger win if they would have started this a month or two ago. It would have been so much better if it would have started earlier, because even like, what was Doge, 120 days or whatever, the 100 days. So essentially, if they would have looked at this and said, okay, in good faith, we're going to start this right now, and then the next one would have been happening, and then the next one after that. So we would have been a little bit further down the line, as opposed to waiting right now when we're right in the middle of these talks, trying to justify some of these extra spending. What we're going to offset it with. So rescission is something that's going to be Republicans' best friend here soon if they can continue to do this. Can you fight rescissions in court? What happens with our Democrats if they lose the vote? Which
I don't think that they can. I think you're passing it through Congress and the president is signing it. You just need to make sure, that you do it the way that you're supposed to do it. I think it has to come from the White House to Congress. The White House has to say, we want to request these cuts.
And you know what? Why not have just a special appearance from Donald Trump when they just read the vote and just get him out there to sign it immediately? He'll be up. Don't worry if it goes into a late night session. So let's say that happens. And by the way, I'm for these. I think these are necessary. And I don't remember if we talked about this, but like with NPR and PBS, for example, as broadcast entities, we're a broadcast entity too. Mm-hmm. And to me, it just kind of boggled my mind. I thought, why is the government giving money to these entities that are like our competition, but we get such hassled all the time? Like, we have to go lobby Congress in order for them to advocate on our behalf to get AM radios to stay in vehicles so our industry doesn't shrink, because they're just eliminating radios left and right. And the way that one of the reasons why the people that wanted them eliminated is because there's a lot of conservative talk on AM radio. I truly believe that. So I look at that and I say, we have to go out there and advocate for our industry, but these guys are just getting federal money. They're not. What are they doing? They're not. They're advocating for themselves because they want more money to come in through their donors. So why should they be put on a pedestal when we have to be out here scrounging for our next meal, as Bob Dylan said?
Yeah.
So, why do they just get the federal money? So let them continue to fund the way they want to fund. If it's going to be a nonprofit way and ask for donations, let them keep doing that. Just don't have to give the government money into it as well.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that PBS, NPR, I don't think any of those places need that government money. We kind of talked about this with other situations. I think what you end up seeing is whenever you stop getting the government gravy train, you find out you have to start making a product that people want. And if you don't, then your product goes away. Your company stops. So
gravy train.
Yeah. So you don't need the government supporting you. Go make it on your own. You don't need government subsidized radio. You don't need government subsidized television.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at the content that's put in there, sometimes it's kind of productive to what the United States values would be, in the sense that I remember listening to NPR talk programming, and I just couldn't believe how slanted, one-sided it was to the left. And it's always been that way. And I thought, okay, so you have your obvious opinion to do these things, but part of it is that these broadcast entities are able to express themselves freely without the government intruding on you, because we're not accepting any money from the government. But if you're accepting money from the government and whoever it may be, then you're at the will of them pulling the money away from you. It's like that. And I guess commercial advertising too. If I were to go out here and trash talk our sponsors, they would leave us too. So you have these entities, if they're out there trash talking Trump all day, then why should they continue to support you? I mean, if they have the opportunity to pull your money, they should anyway. By the merit of it alone, they should be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's going on. Hopefully they get that done pretty quick. I know that this is going to be a huge priority for Speaker Johnson. So I think that's going to happen before you know it.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Let's just say. All right, coming up after the break, there's this one story out of Washington, and Reason is covering this, and I haven't seen it covered in a lot of other places. And you read things like this and you think, okay, is this what you stand for if you're on the left? Is this your I'm going to fight for people like this type of moment? And I really want to know that. And if the answer is no, then why do you do it so often? So we're going to take a break. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in 97.1 FM Talk.
We'll give it a shot. Oh!
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Summer is here and Air Comfort Service is at the ready with Carrier Cool Cash rebates for you and your air conditioning needs. Air conditioner service, a new AC unit. You're not going to find a better company in town to service or install the HVAC equipment that you need. I'm a customer myself of Air Comfort Service. I speak very highly as an experienced customer of theirs. You can call 314-513-0091 if you find yourself needing to replace your air conditioner this summer. If your entire HVAC system needs attention, they can help you with that as well. You can save up to $1,700 with Carrier Cool Cash rebates, but you do not want to wait on this. They're set to end on the 27th. So contact Air Comfort Service today for a free estimate and beat the end of June when these Cool Cash rebates may be set to expire. With over 55 years of 5-star award-winning service, Air Comfort Service has deserved the accolades that they have gotten, the great reviews that they have, certainly from myself as a customer. 314-513-0091, aircomfortservice.com.
Upgrade your family vacation with an unforgettable escape to the Palm Beaches. From outdoor adventures and laid-back beaches to thrilling family attractions and animal encounters, the Palm Beaches have something for everyone. Discover premier resorts with creative kids clubs that will keep the little ones entertained while you enjoy world-class golf and spas. We are the original, the one, the only, the Palm Beaches. Plan your trip at thepalmbeaches.com.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Step outside and fall in love with your backyard again. From inviting porch overhangs to durable composite decks and cozy screen rooms, Lakeside Renovation and Design creates stunning outdoor living spaces designed for relaxation, entertaining, and making memories. With expert craftsmanship and top-quality materials, your new outdoor oasis will be perfect for every season. Call Lakeside Renovation and Design today or visit lakesiderd.com to get started. Let's turn your backyard into the retreat you've always dreamed of.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Time to schedule your air conditioner service. Get your entire HVAC system checked for $19 a month with the preferred partner plan and be ready for the first heat wave. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
This is The Annie Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Right outside of this one church town, there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country. We pray for rain and thank Him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in a plate. I guess
Brad, what's the name of this song that's playing right now?
I believe it's God's Country by Blake Shelton.
Is that the opposite of what's happening in the chat right now?
I don't know. I think the chat is on fire.
Okay, the YouTube chat is definitely on fire right now. What is going on with the listeners there right now?
Well, there are about 6 different conversations that are all happening at the same time, which is great and it's fun. If you guys are listening now and you want to be part of the YouTube chat, jump on Annie Fry's YouTube page, youtube.com/@AnnieFry, Frey is how you spell fry. And check it out. Yeah. Ender's got it. It's a dumpster fire. There's a lot of conversations.
Someone said, Brad, what's your middle name? And I said,
Yes.
Oh, boy, where's this going?
Yes, we've got...
Where is this going? What kind of conversations? It's just there's a lot of stuff I forget. And one person said we forgot there's a radio show underway.
Yeah,
which just happened to be like at the center of their chat right now.
Yeah, they're having their own conversation regardless about what you and I are talking about, which is amazing.
I'm just waving at them. This is so great. Hey, that was me. I love that. The chat is off the chain today, is what they're saying. This is fantastic. Why isn't it on the screen? We can't see the chat on the screen anymore. I want to make sure I can keep up on the video too. There we go. The little
that'll start popping up now.
Oh, it's just it's going to be flying through here before we know it. All the different chat bots, real people though, but the bot meaning the little box that it's on the screen. All right, I wanted to go through this one story here, and this is from Reason TV, and they just happened to be the first one I saw put it up, and I'm going to read you the headline. Female nude spa in Washington. So I'm going to stop right there. Did you know those exist? I didn't know that was a thing. Like there's spas where you can go and be nude.
I don't know. The thought of a spa has never appealed to me, but maybe it's like where you go, you get your massages and you do the saunas and they put the cucumbers on your eyes and stuff like that.
I guess I don't really know. To me, it's just right there. I was like, well, that exists. That's kind of strange. But I'll read the rest of the article. It says, female nude spa in Washington can't bar transgender clients with male genitalia, the federal court rules. So it's the Olympus Spa argued that they have the ability under the First Amendment, they have their freedom to pick and who comes in there or not, meaning that if you're an all-female establishment, that you have this sort of sensitivity considering the nature of bodies, that if you walk in with you're a guy and you're a male and you have male genitalia and you're walking into an all-female place where you are exposing yourself in front of other women, then that is not for their business. So apparently these creepy dudes with wieners want to walk in and show off what they got to these women. And it's, to me, just so weird and bizarre that number one, that's even allowed, but number two, there's people that look at that and say this is the way it should be. I almost look at this as harassment in a way, sexual harassment, if you're walking into places like this.
Well, that's the argument, and this is like people have been saying this for years now, that eventually the courts are going to have to decide on a legal definition of what is a woman. So if you say women only spa, who does that include and who does that exclude? And I got to say we got to sort this out, because I'm not saying that every transgender person has a weird things about them, that they're all predators or anything like that. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is by doing this, by allowing people like this to come in, you are creating cover for the ones and the people who are bad people.
If you're going into an all women's establishment and you're exposing your male genitalia to them, that there's inherently something weird, strange, and wrong and should be illegal happening there. However, that's not the case when the federal courts look at this in these very liberal areas, that they will stand up and say that, oh, no, this is their legal right to expose themselves in front of these women.
No.
It is, again, this is so strange. I don't know where it goes from there. I know federal courts can bring this up. Is this another Supreme Court case in the making? Because I thought they've already taken things to like the state Supreme Court, just like the baking situation in Colorado. They realized that some of these First Amendment rights, they have the ability and the expression to be able to use their skills in a certain way. And that kind of applies in this way. They should have the ability to, when it comes to their own business, make the definition of biological, and that's who they cater to as part of their business. And so in 2020, this person who identifies as a non-binary trans woman filed a complaint with the Washington State Human Rights Commission after she allegedly, I hate to use pronouns and stuff like this because we're talking about biological males, and I want to, in cases like this, make sure their sex at birth is identified here, because it very much is necessary in order to talk about cases like this. So after this biological male allegedly was turned away from the Olympus Spa in Linwood, Washington for having a penis, Olympus, which has a location in Tacoma, is a traditional Korean spa that offers full body scrubs and massages, requires nudity in the pool area, and caters to a single sex clientele, meaning biological females. This person went in there, male genitalia, definitely creeped everyone else out. They don't want any of that. And they are right to not want any of that. And some of this could be a cultural thing too, honestly. Um, this is what I wonder. Do you think this would be evenly applied if it was, I know we're talking about Koreans here, but when it comes to the sensitivity with, let's say, Islam or the Jewish faith, and let's say they have similar things where they're not allowed to intermingle with the other sex because of this very thing. If you were to break those type of rules and regulations, do you think that that would be allowed? And should it be allowed? And I think the answer is no. I mean, the same thing. They deserve that protection for their own cultural reasons. And when it comes to the Korean culture, that they shouldn't have to be harassed sexually like this.
Yeah. Yeah, you have every right to have a safe space for yourself. You have every right to have that. And nobody has the right to come in and invade that. I don't understand this. I don't understand this ruling at all.
So what does that mean for schools and people when they defend these sort of things? They say, no, they don't want to go for your kids, and it's not like this, and they're not going to go use the showers in a public restroom or a shower in the pool area or whatever it is, or the gym and things. But that's absolutely happening, and this is the type of court rulings that enables men to walk into female locker rooms, expose themselves with zero precaution if they say they identify with a certain way.
Well, I mean, they don't even have to do that. They could just walk in where women could be changing and think that they're in a safe spot, and then they are then themselves exposed. Somebody is gawking or looking at them. That's equally as bad.
As in, you have to explain that. What do you mean?
So, like, if a guy goes into a woman's locker room while women are changing, the women are looking at this locker room as like, this is a place that I can change out of my work clothes into my workout clothes or whatever. It's a safe space. But this court ruling says actually guys can come in there now and they can see you changing.
I don't want that, and I think about my wife or my kid and, what happens if they're anywhere where this happens? And I think about my daughter in school. What happens if the school policy she's in would allow biological males with their genitalia exposed to be regular, normal, acceptable behavior in the school that she's going to? And this is not just some, oh, no, this is so rare, it never happens. And you even bring this up as discriminatory, even having these sort of discussions. But these are real life scenarios that play out and get defended, which don't make sense to me. Particularly since the organization themselves don't want this to happen. It's not like they're, a gym and they're like, we're all inclusive, so we're going to allow this and that's going to be our policy. And no, this is an organization that doesn't want to be harassed by these predators that are going out exposing themselves to these other women. And they're trying to stop that from happening, and they're not allowed to stop it from happening.
What's interesting to me is if this were something this is something that the market would decide, people would look at this and if people wanted this to happen, what they would do is they would go to places that allowed for it. And if they didn't want it to happen, they would go to places that don't allow for it. And what you're saying here is the women that don't want to go to a spa where men can come into it will have no place to go because legally you have to let everybody in. That's not right.
Let's look at this too in the sense that when you talk about, and going back on what you're mentioning there, you talk about how you have the freedom in order to decide if you want to go to that establishment or not. So, okay, I'll just go somewhere else. That philosophy doesn't always work when you're living in a place where you don't have things like school choice, for example. And this is something that the left really fights against, your ability to choose where you send your children to school. So what if there is no other choice and you are literally forced to either pull your kid from a public school and pay 10 grand a year to go to a private school that you can't afford or whatever, because you don't have the choice to go to another school at that point when it comes to the public setting. And you're not allowed to object to this sort of thing because you're looked at as discriminating against that person that wants to expose themselves. It's such a strange thing that we haven't settled this yet. And these are not hypotheticals anymore. These are real life situations that I think a lot of parents worry about that their kids are going to have to grow up in.
Yeah. We're trying to, you don't, school's a great example of that. You don't have the choice of where to go. If you were going to a public school, you have to go to this certain school. And so you're at the mercy of your school board.
I know school choice is becoming more and more popular, but I'll tell you what, happens in places like, where a lot of people live. It's a lottery system. So if you're like, okay, I don't want to go to this specific school, I want to send my kid to a better school. So, all right, I'm going to some places, if they don't want to go full blown school choice, they do a lottery system where they accept an X amount of kids in certain areas. But then you're at the luck of the draw in some ways to be able to get out of that situation. And then, of course, the accommodations to send it there, meaning you have to go drive your kid further, in which I'm sure a lot of these parents wouldn't mind if it meant their kid was safe in school. But if you're a superintendent and you're a principal or some of these things, how are you not advocating for these girls that are going to get harassed in this way? How are you not standing up for them when all these other things are going on because you're afraid that the woke mob's going to come and try to take your job or whatever? It's a whole different crazy world we're living in. Yeah, you used to be in education. How do you like to deal with this right now?
No. Well, it was
Washington.
It was something that we were dealing with whenever I was a substitute teacher. It was definitely something that was something that we were dealing with.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you do for PE locker rooms? What about because there were students that identified as transgender, and it's like, what do you do with them? How do you do with that? How do you keep the other kids feeling safe while making this person feel comfortable and that sort of thing? And
this kind of plays into it in a way. And you sent this article too. It says more conservatives than liberals say they have excellent mental health. Do you think there's a correlation here in thinking that one may be a little bit more at peace in their mind than others when it comes to these surveys?
Well, it seems to be that way. According to this, Charlie Kirk shared a screenshot of a table which showed the differences in numbers. Is 51% of conservatives reported as having excellent mental health, while only 20% of liberals experienced excellent mental health. Nate Silver has an article where he's going through why the Democrats have trouble with young men, and one of the things in that article that he mentions is the mental health thing. And in the poll that he mentions there, the question was asked, were you ever diagnosed by a professional as having a mental disorder? And it was the same thing. It was a big chunk of liberals said, yeah, definitely. And conservatives didn't. And it's interesting to see how, the different parties' stances on things lend themselves to people that have and draw people that have different disabilities and that sort of thing.
Again, I'm not always sensitive. I feel like I should be like 75. That should be my real age. The way I just not sensitive at all. Part of me, when I hear survey results like this, the first thing I think of is, okay, what would the argument be on both sides? And I can see one argument saying that conservatives are just more inclined to ignore it and not treat, but they have just as many head issues than anyone else. And I think on the conservative side, I would look at this and say, well, obviously that is the case because you are overly looking for problems where there are no problems. And when you're looking for problems, you're going to find it. Even if they don't exist in your mind, you're going to try to use it as a justification to, I guess, I don't want to use the word justification again. You're going to use it as a way to justify, I guess, some of the ways that you're feeling, because you're always the victim in some way. So you have to enable that in some way or fashion. So the mental side of it is how you do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the attitude toward what government is and what government should be, and how people who vote Democratic tend to be the people that are like, how can we have government fix this issue for us? And then people that are conservative and vote for Republicans, they tend to be the people that are like, just get out of my way and let me fix it. I got this under control. I can handle my own life. I'm willing to take the risk of my own decisions into my own hands, for better or for worse. It's super interesting to see the difference in the two parties that way.
Do you think, too, that there's a lot more undiagnosed mental illness that may be going on when we're trying to justify the actions, like this one case in Washington where there's people defending this individual that wants to expose themselves to women? When you say this is what progression looks like, this is, the modern day liberal movement, this is the things that we fight for. When you're fighting for things like that, does that, to me, I look at that and say, that's like, to me, is mental illness in a way where you're arguing and advocating for those sort of things.
I was going to say,
it might not be fair to say, honestly,
right,
but it does. I look at that and I say that it has all the traits of it.
Well, it's the value of victimhood, the value that's placed on victimhood, and this desire, like, overly empathetic. I'm seeing this phrase float around on the internet. It's called toxic empathy, where you are empathetic, and generally empathy is thought of as something as good, but you're empathetic to the point where what you are going along with to not hurt the other person's feelings or to make the other person feel better is actually harmful, not only to them, but to you and maybe even society around you.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. In some ways, and this probably goes to what you're saying about toxic empathy. In some ways, it's like we look at whatever they're carrying, that baggage, as an emotional support animal, and we have to be sensitive that they need that animal, but in reality, we're enabling some sort of mental illness. And it happens a lot where we say, oh, it's better for us to acknowledge and enable it than it is for us to diagnose and treat it, because for us to treat it would go against what they believe, and we're not allowed to go against what other people believe, because even though it's different from ours, then we should just allow it to be.
Well, it's really interesting, and I like to use the example of a parent. And Ryan, you've got kids, and have you ever told your kid no, and they lost their mind and they melted down?
All the time.
And you tell them no, and the reason you tell them no isn't because you're trying to be mean or isn't because you're trying to do anything. It's because you know what they want in that moment isn't what's good for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you're willing, because you're a loving father, you're willing to allow them to go through that emotional distress, because the facts of the matter are what's better is better on the other side, and in the long run, this is going to be better for them. I look at a lot of these situations the same way. When you're being toxically empathetic, what you're thinking is I am loving this person, and what you're doing isn't actually loving behavior. Going along with what they want isn't necessarily what's good for people if what they want is self-destructive behavior. You're not loving by doing that. You're not loving by affirming that. What you're doing is you're actually creating a situation where things are going worse for them.
And there's so much more we can say about that, but I know we have to go to break, and maybe we pick it back up, maybe we don't. But I'm reading some of the comments in the chat, and this is just one of those topics where I know that we're not going to get to an answer in like 15 minutes and during a break or whatever it is. But we look at examples like this just because it's a good reminder of what goes on, and even though it might not be in your world or your life right here where you're at, but this is something that is like a real world consequence that you fight against because you don't want it to happen in your world. You don't want to be confronted with this sort of thing, and especially for your kids. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Heaven bound, the devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. We turn the dirt and work.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
We're proud to be from God's country.
Civia Law is there to help you through life's transitions. That means when you need assistance with your legal needs, especially in the areas of estate planning and elder law, Todd Civia and the staff at Civia Law is there to make that transition wonderful. 833-995-WILL, 833-995-WILL. There's so much peace of mind that comes through planning, and Civia Law can help you do that. They will help you with your wills, trusts, your powers of attorney, and they have a 2-week turnaround for completed documents from that initial sit-down appointment. And if you call Todd Civia and the staff at Civia Law on both sides of the river at 833-995-WILL right now, they are giving the first 10 listeners, after this ad airs, they're giving the first 10 listeners a free strategy session. That's a $300 value for you. 833-995-WILL. Call Todd Civia and Civia Law today. They have 7 locations across the Illinois and Missouri area to serve you best. 833-995-WILL. Find them online at civialaw.com.
This station is now conducting a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test.
The Range St. Louis West is launching the countdown to 250 years of American freedom this July by giving away 5,000 rounds of 9mm ammo. 5 winners will get 1,000 rounds each, and winners are going to be drawn July 1st. Don't miss your shot. Enter now at therangestl.com/ammo. You have to be 21 or older to enter. It's open to Missouri residents and Illinois residents with a valid FOID card. No purchase necessary. TheRangeSTL.com/ammo.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040.
A lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, this is my last hope. The next step is getting them in the right arch supports. Our goal is to have that long-term change for them, to see someone that is in pain. I change things for them. See how we can help you with a free fitting at the Good Feet store.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. Do you believe in conspiracy theories? Are you a conspiracy theorist? Yes or no? Jump in our chat and vote in the poll. But after you vote, then tell us your favorite conspiracy theory. Ryan wants stuff that is really funny and goofy as well. So we're not looking for some sort of big, serious conspiracy theory. Tell us the funny ones, too. I got a pretty good one about Vin Diesel and Adam Sandler. The time right now is 1:49. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Freedom 13 remembers the heroes that made the ultimate sacrifice by supporting the veterans still with us. You can make a difference with just $13 a month. It's June for Jared in honor of Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. Learn more at 971talk.com/talkinaction.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. You know, with all the talk, the serious talk that we had, I appreciate the YouTube chat, and there's so many comments that are coming in through that. I can tell you what, I feel like we're ready to nuke the ocean floor. Are you ready for that, Brett?
Why not? We've done everything else today.
Well, let's just nuke the ocean floor. So there was a 1960s. There was a study that looked at the effects of nuclear explosion on the geological materials on the ocean floor. I'm looking at a website, as.com. And a researcher envisions taking a step further and actually using it as a way to save the planet. So they say if you were to drop a nuke and well, so much detonate rather, it would pulverize the basalt that makes up the seabed, and an explosion could accelerate carbon sequestration, which captures and stores carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to reduce climate change. I'm saying that word wrong. Sequestration, though the process known to scientists would be enhanced rock weathering. So what they're saying is there's some good things down there, and if we were to go blow up the good things, it'll be brought up to the surface into the atmosphere, and it could actually have some benefit when it comes to our environments. So why don't we just go down there and just nuke it? Why not?
So
do you have any objections?
They want to nuke the ocean floor to release what exactly again?
That's unclear to me. It's the scientific talk here.
The good stuff.
It's carbon sequestration, which would captures and stores carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to reduce climate change. So
it's atoms or molecules or something that bond with carbon that would take CO2 out of the atmosphere. Is that what they're saying?
Basically. Yeah, neutralizes it or whatever. And that would be able to help our situation so much. Now, keep in mind, we'd be, detonating a nuclear bomb in the water, what that has. We've done a lot of different tests. I guess it doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world because we've done a ton of tests with that stuff down there. Every once in a while, our measuring instruments will indicate that some other country did the same thing in some sort of testing. Every once in a while that pops up. But large-scale earth-moving projects like that, you have to have a lot of force, and a great way to have a lot of force is to detonate one of these bombs. Remember when Elon Musk was advocating for setting one of these off on Mars? So you can basically do the same thing. If you were to try to ruffle up some of the different molecular makeup of Mars with a nuclear bomb, then you would be able to speed up the process to build an atmosphere, which would be able to more easily be habitable for humans in the future if you kind of moved them along that way by sending the nukes that far into space. Same idea, essentially. So doesn't it sound like some mad scientist stuff, like Doofenshmirtz would do it?
Absolutely mad scientist stuff.
Isn't it funny that...
I don't know. It's desperation based on stuff that it really doesn't need desperate actions.
Didn't we probably fund that study, I'm guessing, and then we would be the ones to pay for it, too? Now, have we kept in mind that I've seen enough movies? Like, isn't this how Godzilla comes out? Like, it was like basically the giant lizard guy was trapped underneath the ocean floor. We did something in an earthquake, and then next thing you know, Godzilla arises and then destroys humanity, and we don't really have much in the way of protection because it's Godzilla and it's strong and it's got fire breath. So we as people need to understand the repercussions of just nuking things willy-nilly may not be a great idea. What else is under there that could be like released? I mean, there's stuff down there that we don't know about.
Like, isn't like methane stored at the bottom of the ocean? Isn't that bad for the environment? I mean, there's so many different things. It's ridiculous. I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's
okay. Tell me if you would buy into this B movie plot. So, you've watched Oppenheimer, the big movie that came out, right?
I have not seen it all the way through.
Are you kidding me? No. Okay, so how could you not see Oppenheimer? That was like the movie everyone saw a couple of years ago. But the idea was, part of the movie is when they were coming up with this idea to build the nuclear bomb, the idea was it could start a chain reaction in the atmosphere that basically burns the whole world. So there was like a scientist theoretically ran the numbers, and they were afraid that was a possibility.
Yes, yeah.
So you understand that's a real life thing.
Yeah.
So you're talking about methane or whatever's down there. What if we hypothetically drop a bomb in the right spot? It ignites it. Boom. Now the whole core is on fire. It does a chain reaction. And the whole world is like there's just an absolute explosion everywhere.
Yeah. No. Let's like everybody's afraid of nuclear weapons. So let's not use those in the ocean, one of our biggest resources, because you're afraid that there's too much carbon dioxide in the air. There's
not that much, honestly. Like, you know what the percentage is in the atmosphere?
I imagine it's not as high as it was in years past. Like, if you go back, whenever the flora and fauna were so big, I would imagine that it's lower than that. I think that...
Google it.
Yeah.
Because I got a number in my head. I want to make sure I get the right number.
Okay.
It's a real number.
But my point is this, why don't we just worry about planting more green things that can absorb the CO2 rather than trying to set off a nuke at the bottom of the ocean to release something that might grab that stuff?
Okay, so Google's already playing defense because they know where I'm going with this question. They say, despite a small percentage, it plays a critical role. So if you were to guess the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, percentage-wise, what would you guess?
Is it less than 1%, 0.5%?
0.042%.
Super low.
Drop that nuke right now in that water.
Quick.
I just want to see what happens. But this would be a B movie, wouldn't it? It just like sets off the apocalypse. We just set the world on fire by nuking the ocean floor.
Yeah, it would be like the aftermath of this. It would make a great movie.
The aftermath of this would be a title for that movie. Wouldn't that be a good one, too? All right, we got another hour of the Andy Fry Show, and some senators are pushing that they stream C-SPAN on YouTube and other streaming platforms. Would that be a good or bad idea? And let's talk more about the Biden decline. If the audience was different, maybe would they have talked about it more? I guess we'll have to discuss. I'm Ryan Recker. You're listening to the Andy Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. The Bagel Loan can be used for a new home purchase, but it can also be used for a refinance. If you purchased your home in the last couple of years, it's possible that rates could be lower now than when you initially secured your initial mortgage. And when you use the Bagel Loan to refinance, guess what? You pay $0 in closing costs to secure that new low rate. 314-324-4440. Call or text 314-324-4440 for your Bagel Loan refinance. You might be wanting to do a cash out refinance and take some of the equity in your home and apply it to some high interest credit card debt. Maybe you want to build an addition, finish the basement, add a deck to your home. Maybe you need to consider that Bagel Loan cash out refinance because you pay $0 when you use the Bagel Loan. No closing costs, none. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan, NMLS number 226715.
Have you ever had a wedding reception in your yard or scheduled a party, birthday party or whatever kind of party at your house, and during the party or a couple 3 hours before, notice your air conditioner is not working and it is the hottest day of the year? Or have you come home from a vacation and your house is baking? My experience has been that's when it will break. It just happens that way. So if that does happen to you, or say, again, you don't need to have a party or you don't need to be baked. But if your air conditioner breaks and you need to get the cold air back in your house, call me, Bart Inman. One easy number in Missouri and Illinois. That is 314-293-2600. Again, the easiest of numbers, 314-293-2600, or on the internet, bartinman.com. It's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
The talks are intensive. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That's how Canada's Prime Minister describes trade talks with the U.S., also telling the House of Commons Canada is preparing to strike back if a tariff deal is not reached. The U.S. set today as a deadline for best offers from multiple countries.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that there are 18 active negotiations with our trading partners.
Fox Business's Edward Lawrence at the White House. The U.S. trade representative says a meeting with EU officials in Paris today showed a willingness to work on a concrete way forward to achieve reciprocal trade.
The top EU negotiator adding this: we're advancing in the right direction at pace and staying in close contact to maintain momentum.
Elon Musk tripling down on his criticism of the House-passed bill to advance the Trump agenda, posting today that no one who actually reads it should be able to stomach it. Some Republican lawmakers share his debt concerns and are pushing for more spending cuts, but Senate Majority Leader John Thune tells Fox cuts have to start somewhere.
Everybody knows we can't afford to allow a $4.5 trillion tax increase at the end of this year, and that's what the Democrats are advocating for.
The bill would extend the expiring 2017 tax cuts. Democrats pointing to new estimates from the Congressional Budget Office that the bill would leave nearly 11 million more people uninsured. A Washington state man accused of supplying ingredients for last month's bombing of a California fertility clinic, which killed 2 people, including the bomber, Guy Edward Bartkus. 32-year-old Daniel Park now charged with multiple counts, including providing material support to a terrorist.
Mr. Park, who shares Bartkus's extremist beliefs, is accused of shipping approximately 180 pounds of ammonium nitrate, an explosive precursor commonly used to construct homemade bombs.
U.S. Attorney Bill S.A. Lee says the men met in an online forum sharing a belief that people shouldn't exist. America is listening to Fox News.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Expect some unsettled skies over the next couple of days with a front hanging around, some scattered showers, maybe a thunderstorm as we go through the afternoon. But I want to stress nothing severe. 70s to near 80. Couple of showers, couple of non-severe thunderstorms tonight, 67. Same story on Thursday, 83. Little better chance of some strong, possibly severe weather on Friday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Okay, it's probably past time that you call Point Pest Control because you've got pests around your house. Mosquitoes outside, ants inside, whatever the problem is. For us, it was certainly spiders. Point Pest Control is there to guide you through a solution. 636-798-0023. That's 636-798-0023. Online at pointpestcontrol.com. For mosquitoes, make sure that you are getting rid of those nasty critters when they are sabotaging your outdoor experience, when you are trying to have a party and sit on the porch or the deck or maybe hang out at the pool. You can call Point Pest Control and they can come pre-treat for your event so that you don't have to deal with mosquitoes killing the party. 636-798-0023. Also, if you ever see any evidence of termite damage, they can help you with that as well. They can assess the situation and get you to a fast solution quickly. 636-798-0023. Mention Annie and get an extra 10% discount on the top of any specials. Online at pointpestcontrol.com.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com. That's GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com.
1 in 4 people surveyed by Bankrate.com say they're literally losing sleep because of worries that they may have not saved enough to retire. If you're ready to get serious about planning for your financial future, you could start by listening to the All Financial Hour with host Steve All of the All Financial Group.
What are your wishes, hopes, and dreams? What's retirement look like for you? Because everybody, that picture is different. If you want assistance, we can also help you at that point.
Tune in to the All Financial Hour with Steve All, Saturday mornings at 6, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh, yeah, here's the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Andy's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
And I'm Ryan Recker filling in. Was it Julie that liked the quick little camera around the corner on the YouTube page? Jackie. Thanks, Jackie. I was showing Brad. I said, hey, you want to see what the newsroom looks like here in Detroit? And I thought the cord was long enough to reach out the door, and it was not long enough. So you only got to
peek around the corner a little bit.
Barely able to peek. But if you are not engaged in the YouTube chat poll or just the comments in general, you should probably go do that, because what do the kids say? It's in fuego. It is on fire today.
Yeah, the chat,
no kid says
chat
that.
is, yeah. The chat.
It is the bee's knees today.
Yeah. I need somebody in the chat to Gen Z this up.
It's all that and a bag of chips.
Gosh. How old are you? You were right. You are spiritually 70. Holy cow. It's the cat's meow. 23 skidoo. What
meow.
A scoop.
Yeah, what a scoop. Right. What's the YouTube poll today, Brad?
Today's YouTube poll is, are you a conspiracy theorist? Yes or no? And then leave your favorite conspiracy theory in the comments. Ryan, you were saying you wanted what kind of conspiracy theories in the comments?
I was thinking like Wiggins conspiracy theories. If you got any good Wiggins conspiracy theories, that would be nice. I guess you can throw Brad or myself in there. Ethan would be a fun one too.
Yes.
If you have any conspiracy theories, maybe Ethan. Like, for example, if you believe your conspiracy theory is that Ethan rides a jetpack into work, and then that would be a great conspiracy theory, because I would say that is, a possibility sometime in the future. Your comment may not be true now, but at some point it will be. So go ahead and leave those and drop those for us. I look forward to seeing some of those. Brad, I know you've been paying attention. We've been getting some good ones in.
Chats, let me see here if we got anything good in my pocket thing.
Just in general, if you've seen any good ones.
Yeah, there's a good one here that says conspiracy theory number 3, that I'm actually a superhero like Mr. Incredible or Hawkeye. And I, meaning me, he says that Brad is actually a superhero. I might be. I might not be. You don't know. That's the thing about conspiracy theories. You got to make a legitimate case for it.
You're a superhero with an upset tummy. Poor guy.
Yeah. That's been fun.
Well, that's the side effect of your superheroing. You go out at night, you fight people, you get punched in the stomach, it hurts the next day. What can you do?
Yeah. Maybe I don't realize that I'm a superhero and I'm doing it like as a multiple personality. What is that Netflix show, Split, or is that on Apple TV?
There was the Disney Plus one. It was the Moon something. I don't remember. It was just okay. Let's go to this one story. And senators are now pushing for streamers to carry C-SPAN. So a bipartisan duo of lawmakers introducing a non-binding resolution calling on YouTube and Hulu with live TV to offer the political affairs multiplex. So in general, when I think about streamers, I think individuals that are like YouTube pages like us. Do you think if we were to just pop up C-SPAN during the day and just like comment on what was happening, would people watch that?
Oh, man.
You think there's an audience?
I think if we could make our comments entertaining, people might actually like that. Mystery
science theater.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And
thinking the same thing.
And in all actuality, I'm not sure what the fair use is and what the comment rate has to be. But if you offer commentary on something, especially something like C-SPAN, where it's what is it? Government function. Yeah. I think that you can get away with that. I think that's covered under fair use. It's not copyright infringement.
I think you'd be fine in a lot of ways. I don't even know. Do you think they're monitoring its use? Would they copyright strike you for? I guess we could find out. You get the Annie Fry Show live stream ability.
Yeah.
You want to?
No, I don't want to get any strikes. I don't want to get any strikes on Annie's page while she's away. That happened one other time, and she was not happy about that. And it's not fair to her because she's worked really hard to build this channel.
Yeah, that's true. Was it anything I had to do with music?
No, it was not. It was not you.
I played Taylor Swift.
It was not you. No. It wasn't you.
You can't do that. But that's one of the live and learn things. Like, okay, you can't, some things you can play with, some things you can't, because they will tag you the second they even get a hint of the sniff of it. So the push was spearheaded by Senators Chuck Grassley, who's like 98 years old, and Amy Klobuchar, who's much younger. Do you think Chuck Grassley even watches any streaming material? I don't even think he would. Like, it does not fit the demographic.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know, because I watch him, and it's like sometimes it sounds like he's really kind of up on things, but other times, but he's also what? Isn't he 90 or almost 90?
I just threw out a number because based on his looks. You'll have to fact check
I'm gonna fact check you right now.
So this I said 95. He's not. Let's say 89. Okay, no. 88. 89. I'll say 89. So the effort coincided with the 39th anniversary
91.
of C-SPAN. Ooh, 90. He is over 90. So the offers gavel-to-gavel coverage of the U.S. Senate, as well as he's way too old to be serving. Offers gavel-to-gavel coverage of the U.S. Senate, as well as key Senate committee hearings and meetings. The flagship C-SPAN channel carries proceedings from the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, if you are someone that sits around watching C-SPAN during the day, you are a different type of animal beast. Like if you watch C-SPAN for entertainment purposes, that to me is, you know what? How about this? That is probably the only type of broadcast entity I would endorse the government spending money on, because I think it's important to show these things and at least have a video record of these things. I don't mind that it's on cable networks, and if they're paying money for that, that's fine. I think that's good because it gives you access to see your lawmakers in action. Now, would I watch a live YouTube? There's only a few times I've watched it, like if there was a filibuster with Rand Paul. I remember that happened 15 years ago. I thought it was really fascinating to watch that all night.
Yeah.
Not watching Spartacus, but I will watch Rand Paul. But I don't know. I mean, I guess there's if it's up as an option and you're on Hulu and you're scrolling and there's nothing to watch, would you pop it on?
Up all night? No. I would watch it during the day whenever they're I feel like I would tune in more for the the important stuff that happens, the debates on certain bills and stuff like that. I want the ability to do that. You were talking about earlier, thinking about how maybe that is something the government should fund or something like that. I think if you make it fair use and open to everybody, a live stream of House proceedings, of congressional proceedings, I think that would be very useful stuff, where they would it would be produced and all that stuff like a TV show would be, but it would be awesome to be able to just have an area where you can go and actually watch your government do what they do, watch the sausage being made. You can see.
So how many subscribers do you have right now?
On the Annie Fry YouTube page?
Show, yeah.
We're over 12,000. We're at 12,000, 12,022 or something along those lines.
Okay, this is what I'm going to tell you, and this is a free advice, as my consulting fee would just be a thank you and recognition in the future.
Okay.
If you want that 12,000 to go to 120,000, this is what you do. You get the free C-SPAN feed and you put the baby filter on it and just let it roll on live stream. You would blow up to 120,000 subscribers. Awesome. So I would say experiment with that. Just do it. Get the free whatever filter. Let the legislators do their baby talk or whatever. I bet you if you stream that for 24 hours, you'd get 120,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
I bet you would.
Oh, eventually. I think it would taper off eventually. But to be able to sit and watch baby Senator Kennedy, ream out a nominee or something like that, that'd be great.
Just take the C-SPAN feed with the baby filter. I'm telling you.
Yes.
Someone right now is writing that down. Must do that right now before the Annie Fry show gets into it. Do you think that, let's say more people were engaged this way, let's say famous streamers were watching this sort of thing, they'd probably, alienate half their audience if they gave any opinion on it. So maybe that's one of the incentives for them not to do it. But do you think if perhaps there was more attention or focus on it, then things like the Biden mental decline would be more inclined for people in the mainstream media to cover it, as opposed to them sweeping it under the rug like they did for as long as they did? You think maybe if more popular people on a video streaming platforms like YouTube and some of these, really, really big ones, if more people were talking about it as hey, this is something that is trending, then it would force the hand of traditional mainstream media who would try to hide something like this to finally address it?
Well, I think so. I think that would cause people to be asking questions. If you could see stuff happening real time, I think that would be great for honesty, because then people would be like, but wait, I was watching this, and why aren't you talking about this? Or why aren't you mentioning this?
Yeah.
I think it would either force mainstream media to do it, or it would end them completely.
Well, they talk about trends all the time, the thing that are trending, it's pop culture stuff.
They would have to either change the way they do programming, or they would go the way of the dodo. They would just people would stop watching, and that would be that, and they'd fold.
Speaking of the decline, I want to play a couple of clips for you. I think this is clip 4. This is Fox News' Peter Doocy, who, ever since he was put in that role in the White House to ask questions, he is so good at that role. He is very good, and he deserves a lot of accommodations for that. Credit. What's the right word for that? He deserves accolations. Accommodations.
Those
accolations.
Two.
You're right.
I mean, he's doing a good job. He deserves to be paid.
But Peter Doocy is doing fantastic work. And listen to this one question, which is good. This is clip 4.
When you look at these last-minute Biden pardons, the big ones, Biden siblings, Fauci, January 6th committee.
That's right.
Most of the big ones have the same very neat signature. We would expect that probably to be the auto pen. There is one that looks different. It looks authentic. In fact, if you look at the last name, it almost looks like the president was having a hard time spelling his last name there. Is this White House of the opinion that the only pardon that would count is one that the president signed himself?
It's very interesting. Very interesting. Props. If you want to bring them to my office later so I can take a closer look, I would like to do that. The president is making a good point when he discusses the usage of the auto pen. Who was running the country for the past 4 years? Perhaps those documents were signed with the auto pen, something that this, I believe the Department of Justice is looking into. As you saw, Ed Martin made an announcement at the Department of Justice this morning to launch an investigation because the American people deserve answers.
Okay, so he points this out. I'm sure this is something that was brought up on social media, and I'm curious where this line of questioning goes, because then you have to prove. And the other part of this is, yes, you can prove an auto pen, but an auto pen doesn't necessarily negate if it was authorized. But what we're finding is that there's a likelihood, or at least some chances, that these were not authorized.
Yeah.
They were just using it on his behalf without his authorization. Then what happens there? And is Joe Biden in the mental state to be able to testify that he is the legal person that gave the authorization to put his signature on these? And I don't know if he's in his right mind. I think this is where the Democrats will finally fully admit that he cannot consent. He's not, his mental well-being is not that to consent, because he would, I mean, if under oath was forced to tell the truth, would just basically bury the Democratic Party.
They've already said they don't think that they could get him under oath and do that with the results of the Hur report, where he investigated Joe Biden for the documents, having the classified documents, saying we can't prosecute this guy. Nobody's
There's no competency. Yeah.
So
isn't that something?
It's wild to me.
And they hit that too.
I agree with Carolyn Levitt 100% here. Who was running the country? I mean, we joked about it. We were serious about it. We reported about it. We talked about it. I remember Brian Kilmeade talking about it, as early as the Democrat primary process. Like, Joe Biden can't keep going. The man's not there mentally. And, big swaths of the country put him in a position of power, made him the president. And there are times where you're hearing Speaker Johnson talking to him, and Joe Biden, not knowing what executive order he actually signed. I think he was asking him about natural gas exports to Europe. This was when Ukraine was, being invaded and stuff like that. And Johnson asked him, why did you stop these exports whenever they would have to then buy natural gas from Russia and therefore fund the war? And he's like, I didn't do that. And they went and got the order and showed him. And he's like, this is it. And he was like, I didn't sign that. That's not what they told me I was signing. And it's like, so who was running the country? Who was putting these things in front of him?
Greg Gutfeld had a fantastic opinion on his show. Can we play this clip number 5? Because the way he phrases this, there's a couple of things that he said that stand out to be very true things. And when the debate happened in the debacle of Joe Biden being able for most people to see what a lot of us already saw, but this is what really spun the Democrats into full panic mode. The next day, you had Greg Gutfeld come out and say, this is what the media feared, that you would see them the way they see him. They already knew this was him, but they hid it from you from this long. They feared that one day you would see it this way.
Yeah.
And this is their biggest fear now, because this hurts their party that they, in a sense, the Democrats that they have been playing defense for all these years. So Greg Gutfeld, there's certain things that he says and certain points that he makes that are like he could be put up there with some of the biggest political intellectuals. The way that he can entertain people and make these really strong points, I really admire that. So he was talking about this, and when we talk about the legacy of Joe Biden, this is something he brought up that I think I'll never forget. This is clip 5.
The big story always lands on the front page. 2 weeks later, the corrections on page B7. Yeah. That's how it worked. The New York Times and the Washington Post still have their Pulitzers for the alleged Russian interference story, even though we know it's BS. But then something happened, and this is why it's so different. Tapper's book came out, and he deflates this hoax. But it was a hoax that we already knew, but his audience didn't. It was the first time that the correction didn't get buried in the back pages. Biden's infirmity is now more well known than Biden himself. His name will never be separated from what happened.
That's right. And, you know, there was something that Jennings said on CNN, essentially, what will Biden be remembered for? He said the guy that was between Trump's two terms. That was like what Jennings said at first. That's interesting. But I think what Greg Gutfeld said is right on here. Biden's, what you see from him now, him in his mental problems, will be more well known than Biden himself. That's what he's going to be known for. Him being a senile, absent, probably dementia-ridden president that was allowing someone else to run the country for him while they hid this from the American people. It's going to hurt because for his legacy, I know, all things considered, when it's over, it's over. He doesn't have to listen to criticisms anymore. He doesn't have to really care. I'm sure they're hiding all of this from him. I'm sure he's going to just live the rest of his life eating ice cream every day, and that's going to be fine with him. But that's the legacy that he's leaving behind.
And to think, too, I believe that his legacy was one of the most important things to him, that he wanted to leave a good legacy, and his legacy is going to be of a doddering old man shuffling through the White House not knowing what was going on.
Putting stickers on the ground so they can help direct the way he was supposed to walk. And what was he just had a public speech. Was it this last weekend? 2 weekends ago?
It was right after Memorial Day weekend.
We should have pulled audio from that. It was not good. He did not sound good. All right. When we come back, this is an interesting thought, too, when it comes to these Ukraine spiderweb drone assaults. And we keep getting different opinions and takes on what this will look like in the future. I want to talk about that coming up, too. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry, 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
Have you called the Retirement Advisory Group yet? You hear us talking about them all the time because they're the best. They care about you, and honestly, a huge part of their clientele, like almost all of it, is from 97.1 listeners just like yourself, from Annie Fry Show listeners who understand that this transition in life where you're moving into retirement is really exciting, and it's also kind of scary because what if you don't make the right moves? Can you count on what you've saved to pay off in those retirement years? Reach out to the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494, 314-993-9494, and forget about those worries that you have about losing your nest egg in the next market correction. Put yourself in the hands of the Retirement Advisory Group, and they'll set you on the path to peaceful excitement about what's lying ahead for you in those retirement years. They'll be able to show you how much income you're going to have in retirement and also how long your money will last. 314-993-9494. Find them online right now at retirementkey.com.
I'm Emma Greed, and I've spent the last 20 years building, running, and investing in some incredible businesses. The more success I've had, the more people started coming to me with questions. How do you start a business? How do you raise money? How do I bounce back from failure? On my new podcast, Aspire with Emma Greed, I'll be answering these questions and more through weekly conversations with the smartest minds out there. Listen to and follow Aspire with Emma Greed, an Odyssey podcast, available now, wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. If you or anyone in your family has been injured in a car accident, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before, protecting America, fighting for you. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA, so we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't hate, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is hiring licensed journeymen. Don't have a journeyman license? Air Comfort Service will help you get it. Get guaranteed hours year-round and more. Apply online at aircomfortservice.com.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
I'm still trying to come up with some good Ryan Wiggins conspiracy theories. I got one. I'm going to keep working on this. If you haven't voted in the YouTube poll, I would like for you to go do that. So we're getting close to the end of the show, and I want to hear some of your good conspiracy theories. I'm going to save this one, though, because this is a good Wiggins one, I think. Are there any conspiracy theories about me on there? Like I don't exist, maybe because I don't live in St. Louis anymore?
I haven't seen any about you specifically, no.
Okay, I don't know. That might be a good thing.
Got a good one
or not.
Got a good one on Ethan, though.
Ooh, yes. Keep them coming. I want to hear more
later.
later.
Or do you want to wait?
Let's save it to the end of the show because we still got about less than a half hour from here. But go vote. I'm hoping we can get at least 200 votes in the hopper. What are we, 170 maybe, I'm guessing? I don't know. Where are you at?
Yeah, right at 170, 165.
Okay.
So
we
need to get it. Yeah, we need to get some Ryan Wrecker conspiracy theories in there. We need to get some Ryan Wiggins conspiracy theories in there. So go in the chat and drop them on us.
Okay. Ukraine's spiderweb drone assault is a wake-up call for all. That is an opinion piece that I saw in Axios. Some of the things that they say. Ukraine on Sunday targeted Russian air bases as far from the front lines as Siberia using cheap explosive drones sprung from semi-trucks. Big picture, this is just an adaptation of the mini ball made in the Civil War, far deadlier. The inexpensive drones are making military assets everywhere, including in the United States, more vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned when we talk about Chinese nationals buying land in the United States, farmland, some of which that are in close proximity to, military bases. How could that be a threat? So some would say, it could be an intelligence threat, meaning they're using it to gain intel on some of these bases, military bases. They might be using it to spy. They could be using it for other nefarious things when you're talking about military bases. But what if the more realistic thing is the Chinese nationals are looking at what Ukraine did and saying, wow, this is pretty simple, actually. We can probably do something like this, too. Who's to say they're not?
I was going to say, I would think it would be insane to think that they didn't already have that idea. I mean, they are really good with their drone technology. You see the different drone shows and stuff that they do, in Shanghai and all these other places that are just entertainment, but the coordination, the size, and the scope. And then it wouldn't take anything to strap some explosives to those and use that same technology to go, attack an airbase. You figure it out, you go, it doesn't cost you hardly anything, and it costs the enemy a ton.
Yep. One thing they said, the cost curve cannot be ignored. Prized bombers doomed by tools that can be slapped together in a trench or garage. Do the math. I'm seeing that term do the math a lot lately. Mm-hmm. And can we play that one clip 7? Was this on CNN, I believe? Philip Payson O'Brien.
Yep. Well, it's actually been going on for a few years now. It's just that large militaries like the U.S. military and European militaries haven't wanted to fully adjust to the new world we've been seeing. But the drone, or we might say the cheaper, smaller defensive weapon, has been far more effective in this war than the larger legacy, large system like a tank. And that's become increasingly so. I mean, the Russians have lost 4,000 tanks. That's more tanks than all of the rest of Europe has together. And most of them have been lost to these small systems like drones. So that's just the reality of where we are. And as you said in your piece, it's an enormous cost differential. All the drones the Ukrainians used against the Russians in Operation Spiderweb together would have cost less than $1 million. They destroyed billions of dollars of Russian equipment. If we don't understand this cost-benefit calculation, we in the United States and in Europe are going to be in big trouble.
I think that's why you find there's the airspace close to a lot of these different installments are, you can't fly near it. And they realize very quickly this is probably one of the reasons. And yeah, I mean, they have the capabilities. Do they have the ability to put these weapons together on American soil without the U.S. government being able to detect it? That's another question. Are they able to put something like this together on American soil, getting the materials themselves without raising enough red flags that it doesn't bring the FBI to their front door immediately? I don't know. I don't know what internal surveillance looks like for the people that may be under surveillance right now, but I got to imagine that the moment that one of these materials are purchased anywhere on Amazon or whatever, that you're instantly put on a list, I would have to assume. I would think.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think that you're really, like, if you go and buy some drones, I don't think that's going to, like, raise any red flags. And depending on how many people you have, you can buy a bunch of drones for not much money. Yeah. I do think you would be silly to think that it couldn't happen in the United States. I think that you have to be very aware of that possibility. I think that you need to create, especially now that what's happened, you need to make sure that you have some sort of defense system set up over your bases, around your bases, to prevent some sort of attack like this from happening to you. Listening to the guy there talking, he was talking about count the cost and how, with just a little bit of money, you were able to destroy billions of dollars worth of military assets. I've seen online where people are talking about how military assets are starting to become obsolete because, you can do all this stuff with a drone. I don't think that those military assets are becoming obsolete, but you're going to have to change the way you defend them, because there are things that those strategic bombers can do. That's why they targeted them with drones. There are things that those strategic bombers can do, roles that they can play in war, that a drone can't. That's why they're targeting them with drones. So you do have to find a way of defending that. And I think that's what you're going to see with this. You're going to see, okay, well, they're using drones to attack this. We need to come up with cost-effective ways of defending against these drones, because you can't be shooting multi-million-dollar missiles at, $70, $80, $800 drones, So you got to figure out the way to work on this.
Do you think the way we look at podcasting and TV from an industry standpoint, so we look at the diversification of entertainment, that people have endless amounts of entertainment, and what that meant to our industry when it comes to radio and television, looking at the same thing, splinter it through all these streaming services, but the ability to get content wherever you want. And so now there's less people sitting down watching television at night or listening to the radio during the day or whatever it is. So you look at the impact podcasting, YouTube or whatever had on people's personal choices. Do you think the military is looking at drones that same way? Like, this is the game changer. Like, we knew this was coming. We're going to have to just basically adapt to it and find ways to prevent it from happening. Is that possible? This is their next revolution.
This is the next revolution. But again, I think that that governments and whatnot will adapt to it, just like the industries have to adapt. Yep. Some things will go away and other things won't. And it's just the nature of things.
Yep. Let me bring this up here, too. There's another clip from Robert Kraft calling out mainstream media for not reporting attacks on Jews and anti-Semitism. I find this really fascinating because as someone that, looks for content when we're doing a show and you look at all these different news sources, you kind of get an idea of what's being covered and what's not across multiple news sources. And there's always criticism from organizations where, like, is it the MRC? But there's organizations that specifically will look at what is being reported on traditional mainstream media, the big networks, the three-letter networks, and compare what they're talking about versus what they're not talking about. What are the things they're ignoring? What are they not giving airtime to? Yeah. And I think a lot of people are starting to rightfully criticize these networks for not covering some of this anti-Semitism that has been going on.
Yeah.
And the way that they have decided to report it, they're not too pleased with the spin that they're putting on it, as opposed to, like, looking at some of these terrorists that are out there in the initial attack where they were taking prisoners, and there's still people that are prisoners of Hamas, and people that are out there on these college campuses harassing other people because of their their Jewish heritage, and based on the way that they look, not allowing them to go to classes and yelling and screaming that they want to see Israel wiped off the map. And there's all of these different things that were going on, and people were like, okay, this is a pretty big deal. But we continue to see all of these different attacks, and people are getting hurt, and we see the firebombing the weekend with people. There's so many different examples of this happening over the last couple of years. I think that I think the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of these different stories that, like talk radio, shows like this will talk about, that main networks will just ignore. And I think when we talk about it, we're looked at as hateful people to certain groups of people, right? You're looked at as, well, you just hate you want to see these babies in Palestine die. And, the only reason you bring this up is because you're such a hateful, you just hate Muslims, and you do this and you that, you hate whatever. So people label these things on you for covering these stories, and then mainstream media sees this and they decide not to cover certain stories because they don't want this same hassle that people discussing the stories will have. Maybe that could be a part of it. Maybe it's just part of their narrative of why they don't want to cover it. But ultimately, the same thing happens towards the end. And this is what Robert Kraft is now criticizing the media for. Can we play clip number 8?
Yeah. There's been 3 events that have happened that have really shook me up. What happened to Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, what happened out in D.C. with a couple of young people who were just employees of the embassy in Washington, and then what happened yesterday in Boulder or a couple days ago. And people are afraid to call it what it really is. That gentleman you just had on, he called it anti-Semitism right from the start. And I'm very concerned that our political leaders and other people in the news area don't report it as blatant anti-Semitism. And, we've let this go on, and it's happened at college campuses now for quite a long time. And we need people to speak up and call it for what it is.
Okay. Here's what I find. It's important that people speak up and call it for what it is. And I think there's certain people that will do that. And then there's people that will not do that. And it's kind of a shame, and all things considered, that maybe this is just going back in the grievance that we have with mainstream media to begin with. But I don't know if it's just an editorial decision, if it's a courage decision, but they purposely decide not to cover things like this until it gets to the point where there's people firebombing Jews. And then they might give it minimal coverage because at first they thought it was a regular white dude. And then they realized Muslim Brotherhood. Oh, we better stop covering it now.
Yeah, it's frustrating to me because, again, what you're seeing then is whenever they don't cover it, or sometimes they give it a wink and a nod, it's like, oh, they're just out there voicing their freedom of speech. They're protesting something that they see as unjust. They start giving cover to people, and people like the firebomber in Boulder, Colorado, thinks that they can get away with it, become emboldened by it. I think it's important to not necessarily shade that discussion, but just show it. Show what's going on in the campuses. Show the tents, show the marches, show them stopping students from going to class. Show them... there were videos from inside the library where Jewish students were in a library and they had the doors barred as these protesters were outside beating on the doors trying to get at them. When you're doing that, you're looking to assault and hurt someone. That's not freedom of speech. You are allowed to protest the war in Gaza. I think you're wrong when you do it, but you are allowed to do it. You are not allowed to violate the civil rights of the other students who are just trying to go to class, who may never have had anything to do with what's going on in the war in Gaza anyway. These people make the assumption that Jewish students are, by proxy of being Jewish, somehow responsible for the war in Gaza. That's not the case. That's actually a really racist assumption. You say, oh, because you're this, then this. That is awful. And I think what Robert Kraft is right. I think the media needs to start talking about it, calling it out, saying, hey, look, this ain't right. But at the very least, show it and show it unbiasedly. Show exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know we're getting close to the end of the show. How's the YouTube poll looking? Are we getting closer to 200 votes on the poll?
Creeping up there, about 172.
We got to get up more than that. Come on, if you haven't voted yet. There's so many people commenting in the chat right now if you haven't got on there. I mean, we have had quite the engagement level today on the chat. I've really enjoyed seeing them. I know you said Ryan Wiggins is back tomorrow, so I got a good Ryan Wiggins conspiracy to share with you after this. Brad, I got to think of a conspiracy for you. I haven't quite thought of one yet.
Figure something out. Let's see if what you got.
All right, I'll try to think of one for Ethan, too. And while you're at it, if you got any about me, go ahead and put those in there because we can read some of these comments coming up after the break. I hope Ethan can join us because I want to be able to tell Ethan his conspiracy theory. I'm Ryan Recker filling in.
To his face.
Yeah, to his face. I want to be able to tell him to his face. At Ryan Recker or Ryan Recker Radio, if you want to look me up on Twitter or Facebook, that's where you can find me. And I can't wait to hear these coming up after the break on 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
For that special person in your life, you need to visit the Diamond Shop. They're located in Clayton, but did you know that the Diamond Shop has been helping families find the perfect timeless jewelry right here in St. Louis since 1910. That longevity of shopping, essentially local, shopping with a family that cares about your family, getting to know your family, helping multiple people in your family. They do it with beautiful, timeless pieces and wonderful, respectful customer service. Do not be intimidated when you walk into the Diamond Shop. You can leave all of that, check that at the door. You're going to walk in. Everything sparkles so beautifully. And then they are constantly running great, awesome sales to make sure that they meet the mark of the month. Right now, we're probably looking at Father's Day gifts, possibly looking at watches, maybe a tie restraint. I had a tie restraint made for my husband from the Diamond Shop. He loves it. He doesn't have to stick a pin in his silk ties any longer. You go to the Diamond Shop, they're going to take care of you. Find them online at thediamondshop.net.
Start your summer with a weekend showdown. Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers roll into Busch Stadium June 6th through the 8th. Be there Friday for a cool new promo, the first ever Cardinals neck fan. Perfect for hot game days. Then on Sunday, young fans 15 and under take home a Rawlings Kids Glove. It's a weekend of big matchups and big giveaways. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Mason Wynn, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Lou.
Hey parents, looking for something fun and unforgettable to do with the kids? Bring the whole family to a Cardinals game at Busch Stadium. From kid-friendly activities and giveaways to awesome promotions like Kids Run the Bases. Your little ones will have a blast, and so will you. Check out Family Sundays, presented by Smithfield, where select tickets include a free jumbo hot dog and soda. There's nothing like sharing the magic of Cardinals baseball together. Make your memories this summer at Busch Stadium. Tickets are available at cardinals.com.
Bluetail Medical Group is a pioneer in regenerative orthopedics. As joints break down over time, we lose our mobility and a life without pain. Surgery is not the only option. Dr. Matt Bays, David Crane, and Chris Wolf can use your own body's healing power to regrow soft tissue. No surgery, no long recovery times, and no drug dependence. Patients walk out of the office and resume full activity in a few days. Reclaim your joint health by calling Bluetail Medical Group at 636-778-2900 or visit bluetailmedicalgroup.com.
Want immediate cash for your home or see what your home is really worth in today's market? Find out for free from the local experts. My friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty, 314-336-1991. Check out thegelmanteam.com today. That's thegelmanteam.com.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. Are you a conspiracy theorist? So Ryan has been working on some conspiracy theories for the chat and for the members of the show, and we've been grabbing conspiracy theories from the chat about us, and we want to know, are you a conspiracy theorist? What's your favorite conspiracy theory? So jump into Annie's YouTube live chat and leave a comment in there telling us your favorite conspiracy theory, or leave a conspiracy theory about one of the members of the show, and then also vote in the poll and tell us if you are a conspiracy theorist. The time is 2:46. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. Good afternoon. We're getting set here for a Wednesday edition. There's more defense of the big, beautiful bill. We'll get to that. KJP has a new job that she's going to do. This is very interesting. And Brian Kilmeade is going to join us at 3:20. It's all coming up here after Fox News at 3.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
Okay. Interesting bumper music because it has to do with one of my conspiracy theories. We'll have to get to that. But we got to be close. I hope we get to 200 votes. If not, that's fine. I bet we got some really good ones to read here.
We're closing in.
All right. Go into the YouTube page now and go to the live stream and vote in the poll that Brad just laid out for you there. All right. Before we go to that, I saw that one story about Burger King. And so I have mixed feelings about this. Here's from the New York Post. Burger King employee Mikhail Baker rushed to his work shift after high school graduation. The fast food giant decided to gift him a $10,000 scholarship for doing that. I really like this story. I like it a lot, actually. So, Burger King took some garbage because there was like a guy that was celebrating what is like 30-year anniversary with the company, and they gave him like a value meal. So it was like a little box, like it was, here's a little gift pack of like, here's a $50 gift card for working 30 years at the company. It was something along those lines, And then it became a viral sensation, and people donated to him, and he was able to get a lot more because of that. So it was good. So this new high school graduate who rushed to work an emergency shift at Burger King, still wearing his ceremonial ensemble, received a royal bonus from the fast food chain scholarship fund, $10,000 from the Burger King Foundation. So you have a kid in high school, graduates, has a job, so good for him. He's working Burger King, good for him. After the graduation, they needed him, so he rushed to go back to work. Good for him. I think this is a good story. People are making fun of Burger King, and they're like, oh, you're doing it. No, I think this is a good story.
Good for them. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, that kid would have been well within his rights, and nobody would have judged him if he would have been like, you know what? Nope, I graduated today. Today is my day. I'm taking this one off. I'm not going into work. Sorry, guys. Taking care of you a lot, but not today. Just give me this one day. But instead, like as a worker, I've worked fast food. As a worker, if somebody comes in on their day off to help you out because you are getting smoked, it is one of the nicest things a person can do for you. And so for Burger King, what'd they give him? A scholarship for $10,000?
Yeah, $10,000.
That's amazing.
He's 18. Graduated from Mills Creek High School May 21st, rushed to work a late night shift after seeing his coworkers were swamped. Eagle-eyed customers took a picture of him, posted it on TikTok, some of the videos, 4.4 million views. He's wearing medals, so it looks like he must have graduated with some honors. And there was a GoFundMe that put together, and so far the GoFundMe donations are close to $200,000, way above what Burger King gave him. I was thinking about this, and since the Burger King Foundation gave the $10,000, I was thinking, what's the best bonus I've ever received on a job? Like as my employer, anyone I've ever worked with in my entire working career ever been so nice to me that they were to this guy? I don't think so. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this happen for any radio station I've ever worked at.
Okay, so we got a EAS test going on here, and it's going to take over the radio here in just a second.
Okay. Are we on right now, or is it off now? Looks like we're about to, if we haven't already. Well, it looks like the weather's coming through.
Yeah, let's just.
And I know
we'll keep going, and it'll take over. The EAS will take over. It's a good thing we tested it earlier.
Yeah, so we don't know if it's on right now, but at the very least, I know people that are watching us on the YouTube.
Well, they can hear us on the YouTube, and Ethan said that we're off out there, so they're doing the warning right now.
What's the warning? Do we know the?
Ethan, do we know what the warning is?
Let's find out real quick. Let me look it up real quick. Always a great way to end the show is with those tones. Huh?
The last time this happened was when the tornado passed through town, but I don't think it looks anything like that.
No, it's so right now, the only thing that I see is the flood warning. If that's what, I don't know if that's what they're alerting for. River forecasts are based on projections for the next 24 hours. Remember, turn around, don't drown. You don't want to, if you see flooding on the roadway, do not go over it. I mean, that's I feel like we have to say that every time, but man, does it back up quickly on the interstates there.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to find out what this is for. It looks like some flooding and things. You're saying you're looking at the skies. It's not looking all that great right now.
It's super dark outside.
Mm.
Yeah, Ethan says we're still off right now.
Okay.
I've got a timer over here. We're about a minute left on the timer, so we'll be back.
So,
on.
you can see it on there. No, I get that.
I just don't know I don't know what the warning is. I wish I could pass that on to.
Well, I'm just looking at the National Weather Service, and I'm waiting for them to update their website with it. Did they say what it is? Okay. We didn't actually hear what it said. So people are saying certain things, and I don't want to say it unless we can confirm it. Hold on. Weather alert, St. Louis, Missouri. I might have to go to Lake. Okay. Are we back on?
Yeah, we're back now.
All right. It looks like the National Weather Service in St. Louis issued a tornado warning for central St. Charles County, St. Louis County, St. Louis City until 3:30.
Okay.
So that's what it looks like right now. Okay. This includes Interstate 70 in Missouri near exit 231 and then 44 near exit 261. So, yeah, you're looking at the skies right now, and it probably very much tracks with what the National Weather Service is saying.
So if you're in the areas that he mentioned, make sure that you take the proper precautions and take cover.
Yep. National Weather Service in St. Louis issuing a tornado warning for central St. Charles County, St. Louis County, and St. Louis City until 3:30. Said at 2:50, so about 3 minutes ago, severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Ellisville, moving northeast at about 35 miles an hour. So that's where it's at. And the radar indicated there could be some rotation there. So I'm guessing the winds are going to be really picking up here soon as you watch through the window there. Okay, we'll watch that. So for the next roughly 37 minutes or so. But here's how it happens. It's just trying to track and figure out how fast the storm moves. You don't exactly know how fast the storm's going to move. So it could extend. It could go by faster than that. But either way, flying debris could be very dangerous. You want to be indoors. If you're driving around right now, might not be the best time. We just saw how that went. So I'm reading some of the chats right now. We'll keep an eye on this. The tornado warning for central St. Charles, St. Louis County, and St. Louis City till 3:30. Okay. Let's just do a real quick. Can we do the YouTube poll? Read a couple of these theories?
Yep. All right. So let me look at some of these theories here that the chat has put up about us. And one person said that their favorite conspiracy theory is that aliens have given us technology that we are learning how to use. And I've seen this one before. That's
I like that.
Interesting.
It's a good one.
This one is about you, Ryan. Ryan theory number 478. He only wears polos. Conspiracy theory number 9. Ryan Wiggins is not on vacation, but is an assassin for the Canadian government trying to kill the maple syrup producers.
Oh, that's a good one.
And then there's one here about Ethan. Ethan is a 50-year-old woman wearing an Ethan costume. Ethan, you're up.
Sorry.
That's why his skin's so rubbery all the time.
Yeah, that's what I was checking. I was checking to see if my face could come off.
Can we start calling you Ma?
It must be on there pretty dang good.
Ma Ethan.
Ma.
So what was the breakdown? What was the yes or no percentages?
Yeah, so as we take a look here at the final results of today's YouTube live chat poll, 194 votes, just finished short of 200 votes today, Ryan. Are you a conspiracy theorist? Pretty close. It's actually switching back and forth right now. We're up to 195 now. 52% say yes, 48% say no. So you went from almost 100% yesterday to just about as split as you can be today, Ryan.
All right. Can I read you my theories real quick?
Yeah.
Read away.
Brad still has a lifetime of toilet paper in his garage. And conspiracy theory, Ryan Wiggins actually doesn't love candy. He just really likes that song from Bow Wow Wow from 1982. And on the weekend, Ethan goes home and eats sticks of butter as snacks. That was another one of mine. I don't know how true that is, but those are my conspiracy theories.
I really liked those.
He's just snacking on butter over there.
Listen, I know I've gained a little weight, but geez.
Little nibbles of butter. Well, this was fun, guys. And I'll tell you, tornado warning. We're going to keep up with that. I'm sure you'll learn more news. And, of course, Mark Reeder next hour. Keep an eye out for it. It was a pleasure to work with you again this week. I'm Ryan Recker. Ryan Wiggins back tomorrow, 97.1 FM Talk. See you.
Marry the sweetheart. So beat the drum.
Join the choruses of Harmony STL for Acapella Live Broadway, Saturday, June 14th at the Two Hill Performing Arts Center. Don't miss out on this acapella extravaganza with one show only at 2 p.m. Hear the incredible 5-time international champion ambassadors of Harmony alongside the recruits and Visions of Harmony. Tickets are selling fast, so get yours